Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will be starting reading 8th chapter, 3rd verse, which is activities of the pure soul. So we will say our Mangalacharan prayers and we'll get to this. Here actually Krishna is answering the questions of Arjuna, continuing from the conversation from the 7th chapter and on to the 8th chapter. So we'll see all of that in today's session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you everyone for this session for coming to the session of Bhagavad-gītā. Please let me know if the audio and the video and everything is all right, because actually this particular verse 8.3 I did it on Sunday for our Sunday program and I was streaming it live, but the video was going like 10x speed and it was just a waste. So I'm actually redoing this lecture so that this will go fine this time, hoping this will go fine this time. So please let me know in the comment section. I can read your comments here. So please let me know if everything is alright, the video, the audio and everything. And please share the link informing everybody that it has started so that more people can join the session. So today's verse is Bhagavad-gītā chapter 8 verse 3. śrī-bhagavān uvāca akṣaraṁ brahma paramaṁ svabhāvo dhyātmam ucyate bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo visargaḥ karma-saṁjñitaḥ. Okay, today it looks perfect. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So śrī-bhagavān uvāca, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, akṣaraṁ, indestructible, brahma, Brahman, paramaṁ, transcendental, svabhāvo, eternal nature, dhyātmam, the self, ucyate, is called bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo, producing the material bodies of the living entities. Visargaḥ, creation, karma, fruitive activities. Saṁjñitaḥ is called Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "The indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyātma, the Self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma, or fruitive activities." Purport: Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Parabrahman. Brahman refers to the living entity, and Parabrahman refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the lord of matter, but in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various material bodies in the material world. That is called karma, or varied creation by the force of material consciousness. In Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Parabrahman. The living entity, Jivatma, takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identifies himself with matter, and sometimes he identifies himself with the superior spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord's marginal energy. According to his identification with material or spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. Okay, the comment section is being spammed by some idiot, so please ban that person. I hope some admin is there of the YouTube channel. Please ban this rascal. So according to his identification with material or spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 8,400,000 species of life, but in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In spiritual nature, he is manifested sometimes, in material nature, he is manifested sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc., according to his karma. To attain material heavenly planets and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes performs sacrifices, yajna, but when his merit is exhausted, he returns to earth again in the form of a man. This process is called karma. The Chandogya Upanishad describes the Vedic sacrificial process. On the sacrificial altar, 5 kinds of offerings are made into 5 kinds of fire. The 5 kinds of fire are conceived of as the heavenly planets, clouds, the earth, man and woman, and the 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer on the moon, rain, grains, and semen. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets, and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in the form of rain, then takes on the form of grains, and the grains are eaten by man and transformed into semen, which impregnates a woman, and thus the living entity once again attains the human form to perform sacrifice and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna-conscious person, however, avoids such sacrifices. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to return to Godhead. Impersonalist commentators on the Bhagavad-gītā unreasonably assume that Brahman takes the form of Jiva in the material world, and to substantiate this, they refer to chapter 15, verse 7 of the Gita. But in this verse, the Lord also speaks of the living entity as an eternal fragment of myself, as, quote, an eternal fragment of myself, unquote. The fragment of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord, Achyuta, never falls down. Therefore, this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assumes the form of Jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in Vedic literature, Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. Okay, so many interesting details in this verse. So we will so let's try to understand this verse in detail. So there are a lot of details mentioned in this today's translation and purport as well. And to understand this whole thing, let's recap a little bit to where it all started. Okay, it all started in the end of the seventh chapter, towards the end, the last two verses. So if you see, so 729 and 730. Here, Krishna is explaining something. Actually, 728 also onward starts, but actually it starts more on the 729. So Krishna is explaining how perfect souls conduct themselves, and what is their aim of life, and how they conduct themselves to reach that aim. So here, 728 is it's one of the most famous verses in Bhagavad-gītā. येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोह निर्मुक्ता bhajante मां दृढव्रताः. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So this is symptoms of a purified soul who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in Krishna's service with determination. Because some people come to service but they are not determined. They fall away after some time, and so okay, still it's better than nothing, but to be able to do this with determination for a long time, that requires some real piety. So now, 728 that is. Now 729. Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tadviduh kritsnam dhyātmam karma chakhilam. Now here is where it starts. When Krishna mentioned this verse, Arjuna's inquisitiveness started, acting. See here, Krishna says, intelligent persons. You see, of course, te dvandvamoha nirmukta. Those who are not intelligent, they are inside this dvandvamoha, this illusion of duality of this material world. But those who are intelligent, they actually, transcend this. Nirmuktaha, free. So transcend. So they are actually intelligent. Nasti buddhira yuktasya. In chapter 2, text 66, it is said, one who is not in Krishna consciousness, he is not intelligent. Because he has not transcended. He is still in the, three modes. So intelligent person means he has made the best use of his human life by transcending the three modes. So, such intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death, jara marana mokshaya. Jara means old age, marana means death. And those who endeavor for that, to mokshaya, to get liberated from these conditions. That means old age and death means, of course, birth and disease also is included. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. So, because you can't have old age and death without birth and disease. So, Mam ashritya. So those who endeavor to liberate themselves from old age and death, that means the cycle of birth and death, they take shelter of Krishna. And such persons, te brahma tad viduh kritsnam. They know everything, like you see here. they are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. They're actually Brahman. Now, the living entity is called Brahman. The supreme living entity, Krishna, is called Parabrahman. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Arjuna also addresses him as Parabrahma. So, the living entity is known by two words, Jivatma or Jiva Bhuta and Brahma Bhuta. So, when the living entity is in this material world, in its conditioned state, he is known as Jiva Bhuta. And when he is in his constitutional state, then he is called Brahma Bhuta. Conditioned state means the living entity is actually free. He is not trapped. He is at least not supposed to be trapped by a material body or anything. Like you see in the second chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavakaha nachainam kledayantyapo nasoshayati marutaha achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyoshoshya evacha nitya sarvagatasthano rachaloyam sanatanaha avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam ucyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanu shochitimarhasi. What is he saying in these three verses? 223, 224 and 225. So, the soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by the water, nor withered by the wind. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Let me add to this. He is also untrappable. So if he cannot be cut, if he cannot be moistened by the water, if he cannot be touched by any of these material elements, then how can he be trapped in this material body which is made of material elements? How is that possible? So actually the living entity is not trapped. He is only in this body, we are in our bodies because we willed so. If we want, we can free ourselves completely. It's just that because we do not want to be freed, that's why we stay in this body. Yeah. It's only because of our own misuse of our independence that we are trapped. We are trapped because of our own ignorance, because of our own false ego. The choice of misidentifying ourselves with matter. For example, if somebody comes to kill, I will protect myself. That's because I value this body, so I don't want to get out of this body. Why there is defense? Ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha. So, bhaya means fear. What is this fear? That, I may be in danger. And what is the danger? What is the ultimate danger? Death. So, if there is a hint of death, we try to protect ourselves. Why? Because we want to be in this body. And that's why we are in this body. We don't want to leave. Otherwise, if the soul actually is completely freed, then he doesn't have to be in this body. So we are trapping ourselves basically. It's not that we are trapped by these material elements. No. We are trapping ourselves because of misuse of independence. And this knowledge of Krishna consciousness liberates us from this entanglement. It's like I lock myself in my own room. That's how it is. It's not that somebody else locked me. It's like in a jail, in a prison, the prison authorities, they lock the cell for you. And then you are inside, you cannot open. But in our home, we lock the door from inside. And we are inside. We can be anywhere in the world. But we choose to go and every day go to the same place. And trap ourselves in that home. That's why Brahma said, Kara graham graham. I think another place also there, I forgot the verse. Bhagavatam. So anyway, this verse I can show you. The other day I think Prabhu was showing, Sundagopal Prabhu. 10, 14, 38, 36, sorry. Tāvad rāgādayastena stāvad kāragraham graham tāvan mohom ghri nigado yavat krishnanate janāha. My dear Lord Krishna, until people become your devotees, their material attachments and desires remain thieves, their homes remain prisons, and their affectionate feelings for their family members remain foot shackles. So, if you look at it that way, are we not all prisoners? The prisoners in the prison are prisoners, and we are prisoners in our own home. Karagraham means a prison, and graham means home. Our homes, our graham is actually a karagraham. The only difference between this prison and that prison is that in the so-called actual prison, somebody locks the door for us. In this prison, we lock our own doors and stay inside. So it is actually our calling. It's our calling, and even for the prison authorities to lock the prison for us, we did that. We allowed them. We gave them the right to lock us up. It's not that actually, we are suddenly locked up. No, it's again our misuse of independence. So at all times we are calling the shots. So it's only our independence now. Whether I can choose whether to lock myself or to be locked by someone else. And both of them are actually misuse of independence, because the real soul is really free. Or I can choose to lock myself in this own body. Now I'm in this body. It's only because I choose to lock myself. Or I choose to allow Maya or Durga Devi, who is the superintendent of the material world under the order of Krishna. So I have, allowed her to lock me in this body. Otherwise, no material element can contain the soul. You cannot do that. You cannot cut, you cannot moist it, you cannot do nothing with this material element. You cannot touch the soul. You cannot trap the soul. So the only reason why we are here is because of our own misuse of independence. Now, if we go back, so when we are in the state of misused independence, then we are conditioned. Our free movement is now, we agree to be trapped. So that is called the conditioned nature. So we are under we are put under certain condition. Like, for example, what is an air condition? Air condition means there is a condition in which I want the air of this room to be. For example, I want it at 18 degrees Celsius. So that is the condition under which the air of this room will be. So I have decided that. That's the condition under which this room will operate for however time I choose to. So we are also under certain conditions here, and we are operating under those conditions. So what is that condition? So that is the three modes of material nature: the goodness, passion, and ignorance. So sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Sattvagun, rajagun, tamogun. So how much of sattvagun, how much of rajagun, how much of tamogun, these livers, for example, so the entire conditioning is 100%, maybe 55% mode of goodness, 35% mode of passion, and what is the rest? 10% mode of ignorance. Or change the livers a little bit. Okay, 20% mode of goodness, 50% mode of passion, and 30% mode of ignorance. So in this way, I'm just giving a very simplistic example, but this is how under different conditions we operate. So if my body, karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janmasu, according to our association, we develop bodies. What does that mean? With whom are we associating? With what are we associating? That means in my previous life, according to my association, this life I get my body. What is that association? We know association as just, association of the press, association of, footballers, association of cricket. We're not just talking about association of people. Associate with, we're actually associating with the modes. Whether in the shape of people, whether in the shape of music, whether in the shape of food, whether in the shape of work, whether in the shape of having a partner, have a circle of friends. So these are all different shapes for the modes of material nature. They are manifestations of the modes of material nature. We are actually associating with the modes. And according to my association with the modes, I will get a suitable body so that I can continue from where I left off in the previous life. So, karanam gunasanga, association with the guna, sattvagun, rajagun, tamagun. Sadasan yoni janma. So, whether in good or bad species of life, that all depends on association with the modes. That means the time that my birth and my body is a condition under which the soul will operate for such and such length of time. That is which is our lifetime. So our body will operate with this much passion, goodness, and ignorance because that is where he left off in the previous life. So that's how it is going on. This is the activities and movements. How our activities define our movements in this material world. Where we go, how we go, everything is dependent on our association, how we associate. If we associate with devotees who are beyond the three modes, then Turiya Guna Sampannam, Nana Guna Manoharam, Ananda Saurabham Pushpam, Grihyatam Idamuttamam. So, this is actually the mantra for offering flower when you're doing deity worship. Turiya Guna Sampannam, Nana Guna Manoharam. So, in the fourth guna, Turiya means fourth. Turiya Guna Sampannam. So, when we attain to the fourth quality, that transcendental quality, that means above the three modes, the fourth state, also above the three modes, above the three stages of our consciousness, which is deep sleep, dreaming, and wakefulness. All of them are in the material world, material consciousness. But fourth state is the transcendental state, in which we always remember Krishna. Because in all of the other three states, we forget Krishna. We forget our relationship. Maybe for the outside, we look like, okay, wakeful or dreaming or deep sleep, but actually we are in deep slumber spiritually. But when we become spiritually awake, that is the fourth state. And that fourth state, when a person in this material world is in that fourth state, which is a pure devotee, such a person can be in any of the seemingly three states. Like maybe sometimes he's dreaming, sometimes he's in deep sleep, and sometimes he's wakeful. But in all cases, he's Krishna conscious. We cannot understand this because if somebody is in deep sleep, he is unconscious. But a devotee, pure devotee, he is Krishna conscious, even in deep sleep, even in dreaming, and in wakefulness. So his fourth state permeates every one of the three states, even when he's in the material world. So that means that he's not in the material world. Material world means forgetfulness of Krishna. And when you are not forgetful of Krishna, then you're not in the material world. So anyway, when one is in the conditioned state, that means in this material world, in a body which is governed by these three modes of material nature, so he's under certain conditions. So that is called conditioned state. And in that state, he is called Jiva Bhuta. And in his liberated state, or in his constitutional state, constitutional means original. That means his original state. So in our original state, we are referred to as Brahma Bhuta. Jiva Bhuta, Brahma Bhuta. So the same living entity, dhyātmam, but sometimes known as Brahman, sometimes known as Jiva. So, why I told all these things? Just a second. Okay. They are actually Brahman and they know entirely everything about transcendental activities. Karma-saṁjñitaḥ. Te Brahma tad viduhu kritsnam adhyātmam karma chakhilam. So this, if you see the word dhyātmam and karma, in today's verse, Krishna is answering that. He's talking about dhyātmam, you see, 8:3. akṣaraṁ brahma paramaṁ svabhāvo dhyātmam ucyate bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo visargaḥ karma-saṁjñitaḥ. So, karma, dhyātmam, svabhāvah, brahma. So try to understand the connection here. So Krishna said this, like intelligent persons endeavoring from liberation from old age and death take refuge in me and devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they know entirely about everything about transcendental activities. Now, next he says, Sadhi-bhūta-dhi-daivam mam sadhi-yajñam cha ye viduh prayana-kāle picha mam te viduryukta-chetasah. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Okay, so what is he saying here? So, those who are in full consciousness of Krishna can understand him at the time of death. Yeah? Let's try to understand the statement properly, because there are too many conjunctions. So one may get lost in the commas and so many commas. So, those in full consciousness of me, the Supreme Lord, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So, if we are fully Krishna conscious, then we can understand and know him even at the time of death. Time of death, it's extremely painful and very disturbing. Let's not talk about death, just headache. If we are having a headache, we can't concentrate on anything. Chanting, how to chant while having headache? Very difficult to focus, right? When we are angry, when we are lusty, when we are, in illusion, whatever, it's very difficult to chant. What to speak of at the time of death, which is the ultimate disturbance. But even at the time of death, with clear consciousness, we can remember and understand and know Krishna without any disturbance, if we are fully conscious of him during our life. Now, how to be fully Krishna conscious? We have to know him. How to be conscious of Krishna? We are interacting with so many things in this material world. So how to be conscious of Krishna at all these times? So we have to know his all-pervading nature. We have to know him. Then, once you know somebody, then you can trust that person. Once you trust him enough, then you can love that person. When you love him enough, then you can remember that person no matter what. So this is the process. So how Krishna asks Arjuna, as you are fighting in this war, remember me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. You think of me and at the same time you fight. We are saying we are busy in this material world, I don't have time. What time Arjuna has then? Every moment, he is on a battlefield. Every moment he has to shoot an arrow. And not only shoot arrows, he has to look for any arrows that are coming at him. If he is not alert for a single second, his head will be gone. That is the level of busyness, that is the level of intensity he was dealing with on a continuous basis from sunrise to sunset every single day for 18 days. Bhagavad-gītā was spoken on the battlefield, and after this dialogue, the battle started, and for 18 days they fought. And for 18 consecutive days, from sunrise to sunset they fight, and then after sunset they take rest, and again they come back at sunrise. It's not like this today's warfare where they shoot in the night, hide and shoot, and send drones. No. They face to face. This is dharma yuddha, properly conducting warfare face to face with courage. That is kshatriya. So from morning to sunrise to sunset, 12 hours. Every single moment he has to be, you know, and no eating, no drinking. Maybe some water is there on the side, something like this. I don't know what was the arrangement. Of course, there should be some water, right? Somewhere in his drinking water. So I don't know. I mean, he is just from morning to night fighting every second. How to be so intense the entire day and continuously for 18 days? So even at that time, Krishna said, "Ma manusmara yuddhacha." You think of me and at the same time you fight. How is that possible? It's only possible by love. When you love someone, then you will think of that person in any situation. Whatever you are doing, you will think of that person. It's only possible by love. And how to love Krishna when we do not even know him? When we do not even trust him. We always take, that, I am the provider, I am this thing, I am everything, I kartaham. I am the doer. I don't want Krishna to ride my chariot. I want to ride my own chariot and fight at the same time. That's why I fail. So, that lack of trust in Krishna happens because of a lack of knowledge of his power. If we don't know who he is, how can we trust him? How can you trust someone whom you don't know? You have to know something. So we have to know Krishna in full, and Krishna says that in Bhagavad-gītā. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanmana iti mameti sojo. Those who know me perfectly, they will come back to me. Because why? Then they will not only trust me but love me and dedicate their lives to me. And that is called sharanagati, surrender. And that's what will transport the jiva, the living entity, from material world to spiritual world. So, before we can love and before we can trust, we have to first know him. Because now we are interacting with everything in the material world, we have to know how everything that we are interacting with, how everything is connected to Krishna. So whatever we are seeing, whichever direction we are seeing or hearing or touching or smelling or tasting, we are remembering Krishna. We're always, channeling everything back to Krishna, because it's not an imagination. Oh, that's a creative way to think. No. That is a fact. We have created some other way to think, that everything has nothing to do with God. That is our stupid creativity. Real fact is that everything is connected to Krishna. Not that, oh, I am the taste of, okay. This is some creative way, I can drink water and think of Krishna. No, that is the fact. That is a fact. We have created our own stupid ways of thinking, and that's why we are here in the material world. So, those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord. Okay, so how to know him? That he's all pervading nature and everything. So here, one who knows Krishna as the governing principle of the material manifestation, the governing principle of the demigods, and the governing principle of all methods of sacrifice. Three things. Not only these three things, of course, Krishna expands in other things, but this is adhiyajnam. So, the Supreme Lord, the governing principle of the material world, of the demigods, of the sacrifice, which is our actions offered for the pleasure of Krishna. And also dhyātmam, the soul. You see, the individual soul. What is the soul? Who is the Lord of the soul? All souls, and who is the Lord of the demigods, the sacrifice and everything. So, the words that are used here. So, if we know that how he is governing everything, the material manifestation, the demigods, and the sacrifice. If we know that, because everybody is sacrificing something for something, right? students sacrifice so much of their time instead of playing, they study, and then they sacrifice this thing so that they can get something better, career. And even the sportsman, he sacrifices so much, he trains so much, and then so that he becomes a good sportsman. So if you want any excellence in any field, you have to sacrifice something. But who is the actual beneficiary of sacrifice, and whom we should sacrifice for? What should be the aim of life? Everybody has made their own aim of life. Some as sportsmen, some as politician, some as academic, some as all kinds of things. I mean, even to become a mafia lord, that is an aim. Some people want to climb the ladder and become a mafia lord. That is an aim. So people have created their own aims, but actually the real aim, and for which we have to sacrifice everything, is Krishna. So if we understand that, then we will surrender to Krishna. We will sacrifice our life for Krishna. If we really understand that He is the only person worth sacrificing for, then we will sacrifice. So if we understand these things, how He is governing everything, that means He is the owner of everything. He is governing. So it belongs to Him. I should use everything in His service. And the demigods, and how He's managing the entire material world with the demigods. How are they the agents of Krishna? And then so we have to know the workings of material world, of the demigods, of ourself, dhyātmam. So if you see the 729, dhyātmam karma, two things are here. Jara marana moksha mama shritya yatanti ye te brahma tad vitu kritsnam. They know everything about dhyātmam karma cha akhilam. So they know everything about activities and the soul, and also continuing from the previous verse. You see, they know everything. Kritsnam means everything. Yeah, you see, viduhu means they know. So they know everything about that intelligent persons who surrender to Krishna. They know everything about dhyātmam, karma, adhibhutam, adhidaivam, adhiyajñam. All these things they know. So ye viduhu, who knows prayana kalepi cha mam te viduhu yukta chetasaha. Now, those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So this is how we have to know Krishna. We have to familiarize ourselves with the greatness of Krishna again. We forgot Him. Once we know who He is again, our real love will again sprout. So since Krishna said this, those who are intelligent, they know all these things, dhyātmam, karma, adhibhutam, adhidaivam, adhiyajñam, they know all these things, these principles. So then Arjuna became inquisitive. Then he asked. Eighth chapter starts with his question. Arjuna asks, Kim tad brahma, kim adhyatmam, kim karma purushottama, adhibhutam cha kim proktam, adhidaivam kim ucyate, adhiyajñah katham kotra, dehesmin madhusudana, prayana kale cha katham, jñeyosi niyatātmabhi. So Krishna said, whoever knows all this, whoever knows me to be all these, governing principles of all these principles, or governing principle of all these different manifestations, they can remember Krishna at the time of death. Now, why is it so important to remember Krishna at the time of death? Because Krishna says in the 8.5, which is just 2 verses after today's verse, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram tad ya prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. So one who knows Krishna at the time of death, he is going back to Krishna Loka. Those who know anything else at the time of death, they go to that form of life, that kind of state of being. So that's why now it is very important to remember Krishna at the time of death. So when Krishna said this, then Arjuna asked immediately, okay, so we have to know all these things and how you are the governing principle of all these different principles. So now, what are these things first of all? So please unpack it for me. That's what Arjuna is asking. Okay, you have given me now a package. Now I am not understanding what is inside. I want more visibility. I want to open and see the contents of what you're saying. What are you saying? What is adhiyajñam? What is adhyatmam? What is karma? What is adhibhutam, adhidaivam, adhiyajña? All these, what are they? Explain to me. That is, Arjuna's question. So Arjuna inquired, "O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the Self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Who is the Lord of Sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death?" So whatever Krishna said, declared, Arjuna is asking him to unpack all of that and, you know, let him know what he means by what he's saying. Now, Arjuna does not need this clarification. He does not need. He is a personal friend of Krishna. So he's asking on our behalf. Like for example, Adhidhaivam kim ucyate. What are the demigods? He's asking. What are the demigods? He defeated the entire host of demigods in a war. When he in the Khandav forest, when he was fighting for the Agni Dev. He was hungry and he wanted to eat the entire forest. So, but Indra was not allowing him because Indra's friend Takshaka, one snake, he was staying in that forest. So therefore, to protect his friend, Indra was not allowing Agni to devour the forest, because every time he tries to devour the forest with fire, he will send big rain and then he will extinguish the fire. So Agni asked Krishna to help, and Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna said, "Okay, I will do it." So Krishna was his charioteer, and Arjuna fought with the entire host of the demigods, and all the demigods came to help Indra, and Arjuna single-handedly defeated all of them. And now he's asking, "What are the demigods? Who are they? Can you explain this to me? I don't understand." Of course he understands, but he's asking this for us. So answering these questions, Krishna's verse today is that. So śrī-bhagavān uvāca akṣaraṁ brahma paramaṁ svabhāvo dhyātmam ucyate bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo visargaḥ karma-saṁjñitaḥ. bhūta-bhāvodbhava-karo. Bhūta-bhāva. Bhūta-bhāva means to think of ourselves as the Panchabhuta. Identifying ourselves as this material body which is made of this Panchamahabhut, which is the gross elements, and the three Sukshma Bhuta, which is the three subtle elements, the mind, intelligence and false ego. So when we identify ourselves with the Bhuta, then yes, we become Bhūta-bhāva. Udbhava-karaha. That means this kind of mentality is produced in the living entity. So producing the material bodies of the living entities. So what produces this kind of material bodies and the material consciousness? Karma, our activities. Our activities produce our material body. Then how did we get our first material body when we were originally in the spiritual world, and then again our activities. Our activities involve our mental, our vocal and our actual activities. So sometimes with our mind, sometimes with our words, sometimes with our actions. So those activities will give rise to future bodies. So now, the meaning of this is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called dhyātmam, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities. Okay, so there are some questions in the comment section. I will get to them at the end of the session. So I'll continue the explanation for now. So we have to understand, very nice things are mentioned in today's verse. And if you see the purport, there are even some more fascinating details in the purport. Development of material bodies is caused by work. And it also not just gives us the bodies, but our place of residence. Like whether in this planet or another planet, and even in the planet, in which part of the planet, how favorable or unfavorable circumstances, all these things. It's such an extensive, intricate arrangement that it is impossible to even conceive of it. Like if you see the dog, for example, there is a certain amount of goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? But still, there is difference between dogs, one dog and another dog. Every dog is different. That means not every dog has the same level of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Although most of them are predominantly in ignorance, all animals before human life, I mean, below human life, which is a subhuman, like um, animal life, you know, in those species, predominantly in the mode of ignorance. But even then, there is difference. Not every animal is suffering in the same way. And even if the same species, not every animal of this species is suffering the same way. Now, how much difference there is, and where one is born, and how one is born, to whom one is born, everything matters. And all this arrangement Krishna is making just because of our foolishness. Such an extensive arrangement, but all because of our foolishness. So, Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing. So, if you go through the purport, we will find some fascinating details. And first thing, important point here is that there is difference between Brahman and Parabrahman. As a clear distinction. I mean, it's not even close. Brahman is the individual living entity. Parabrahma is supreme. Atma, Paramatma. So, Purusha, Purushottama. So, Uttama Purusha means greatest of all Purushas. Everybody here in the material world trying to be an enjoyer, but Krishna is the Adi Purusha, Purushottama. Means the original and the most dominant enjoyer, the dominant male. Sometimes they call alpha male. He is the alpha male. So he is the original and the most highest enjoyer. Ishvara Parama Krishna. So the controller, the owner, everything. He is Purushottama, Krishna. Ishvara Parama or Parameshwar. We are called Ishwar because we are also controller to an extent. But he is Parameshwar, Krishna. Sometimes Lord Shiva is referred to as Maheshwar, Parameshwar, but that is in the material world. But even Krishna is the Lord of even Lord Shiva. So that's why Brahma said Ishvara Parama Krishna. He did not say Ishvara Parama Shiva. No. And Shiva also confirms Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. He is supreme. So all these words refer to this distinction. So it's never the same. This Mayavadi impersonal understanding that I am God. I am God. So this is nonsense. Or I will become one with God when I liberate. Then if I am one with God, then why did I first of all fall down? No. It's only a part of that Brahman that got cut, and then now you are that part, and after this you will again merge back into the Brahman, the big Brahman. Now, but in the second chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, it is said that Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. The soul cannot be cut. So how come the big Brahman, which is the substance, spiritual substance, which is a big soul, got cut into like smaller thing, and now this small soul is, under condition, this material condition, and then when it liberates again, mix with the big one and again become one. No, it is not cut. It is not joined back. It is eternally the same. That means we are always separate from the Lord. This Advaitam philosophy is rubbish. Rubbish. Not supported in any Shastra. Shankaracharya propounded that. That is under the order of Narayan, but he had to do it as a matter of duty, but even he did not believe in his own postulation. Because he said, Bhajagovindam, 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 Mudhamate. Oh, you fool, rascal, you stop this nonsense understanding or impersonal understanding by grammatical, manipulation. Because in Sanskrit, in the Vedas, there are so many statements in Sanskrit, right? So he churned out some different meaning from the word, and then he twisted the meaning, because one word can mean many meanings, can mean many things. So he twisted a wrong meaning, and then steered people away from the actual meaning of the Vedas, and then took them to impersonalism. So that's why he's saying, Samprapte sannihite kale nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. Dukrin karane means this grammatical manipulation. This grammatical manipulation and trying to squeeze out some stupid meanings out of the Vedic statements will not help you at the time of death. That's what he's saying. Prayana kale, what is that? Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam, Govindam, Bhajamodamate. Samprapte sannihite kale. So at the time of death, sannihite kale means at the time of death. This grammatical manipulation and squeezing stupid meanings, this won't help you. You just worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda 3 times. Still there are fools, vast numbers of them, who still follow the Advaita philosophy, which is based on grammatical manipulation. Which Shankaracharya, who is none other than Lord Shiva, did on the order of Narayana to bewilder the atheists and basically drive Buddhism away from India, which is atheism, because they don't believe in the word of God, the Vedas. So to bring back the Vedas, Shankaracharya preached a philosophy similar to Buddhist so that people can accept, but he brought back the Vedas. He preached atheism from Vedas. Because when you say, oh, I am God, then there is no supreme, so that is atheism. Or they say Krishna has no form. It means basically he is not there. If I say your father is there but he has no form, he has no eyes, he has no heart, he has no hand, legs, nothing, that means your father is not there. That's what I mean. So if I say that arupam and he doesn't have a form, that means he's not there. So it is covered atheism. It is indirect atheism. So that was just setting a stage. But then, of course, later Ramanujacharya came and defeated the philosophy of Shankaracharya, and Madhvacharya also, defeated Advaita philosophy of Shankaracharya, and they established the real Vaishnava philosophies, which are actual Vedic philosophy. So it was a chronology of events that happened, and a gradual reinstation of dharma. And Buddhism also came because of people misusing the Vedas. So Buddha said, reject the Vedas, and now I follow this path of ahimsa, non-violence. So in that way, this is all, the whole plan of the Lord. So anyway, that impersonal understanding is nonsense, that we are one with Parabrahma. We are never called Parabrahma. We are only called Aham Brahmasmi, not Aham Parabrahmasmi. Whoever says I am Parabrahmasmi, he is rascal. He should say Aham Paramam Mudhasmi. Mudha means rascal. Aham Paramam Mudhasmi. I am the supreme rascal, not Aham Param Brahmasmi. So that is the first point in the purport. Now, so our position is to actually serve. So we are not going to become one with the Lord, but we are going to be with the Lord, serving Him. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. That is called karma. So that's why you see Prabhupada is mentioning the constitutional position and the conditional position. So there's 2 different things. Now, in Vedic literature, living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman. We have learned that. So the living entity takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identifies himself with matter, and sometimes he identifies himself with the superior spiritual nature. What does that mean? So sometimes we think we are the body, and we are covered by Maya, and sometimes we are uncovered. Then at that time we show our spiritual nature, and this does not fluctuate every second. No, we are not talking about that. We are talking about the Nitya Siddhas, for example, those in the spiritual world. They never touched matter, so they are always uncovered. But there is a tendency that one can be covered by Maya, and the example is given of a beach. The beach sometimes is covered by water, and sometimes it is exposed. So the beach is actually land, but when it is covered by water, we take it that part as part of the sea. So we identify that part as the sea, but actually it is land. The water is covered, and when the water recedes, then the land is there. So in our uncovered position, we are actually spirit, but sometimes we get covered by Maya. And when we say sometimes, this is not like, oh, today I was covered by Maya, tomorrow I am uncovered, and day after tomorrow I again covered, 2 days after that I will be uncovered. We're not talking about that. Oh, 12 o'clock I was covered, 2 o'clock I was uncovered. No, no, not that is not what sometimes means. When we misuse our independence, we are here, and for millions and trillions of years. That is the sometimes. And when we identify, when we learn our mistake, then we go there. So that is the sometimes. So there is a tendency to fall down, and some souls actually fall down into the material world, and some they stay in the spiritual world, and some, after having fallen down in the material world, they understand their mistake after associating with devotees, and then they realize that they're actually servant of Krishna, and then come back to Krishna consciousness, and they go back to the original. So that is why sometimes. So sometimes they're there, sometimes here, but the Nitya Siddhas are always in the spiritual world. Nitya Baddhas are always in the material world. Sometime in the past they came into the material world and they stayed there for millions of years now. And sometimes some people from the spiritual world fall into the material world, and sometimes some people from the material world ascend into the spiritual world. So that's why it is called sometimes. But as of now, we are all always, not sometimes spiritual, sometimes material, like this. No, we're always in Maya. Once one disciple, he came to Prabhupada. He said, Prabhupada, we are trying to be Krishna conscious, we are most of the time Krishna conscious, but sometimes we go into Maya. Why is that, Prabhupada? So Prabhupada said, no, you are always in Maya. Only sometimes you are in Krishna consciousness. You are always in Maya. Then he understood. So Prabhupada put the perspective right, you see. So we are always in Maya. It is not that, fully, every day, doing program. You just observe where the mind is going. Focus is completely not there. And it takes years to come to the point of complete focus and very rigid practice and, um, discipline and everything. And it comes. So, so that's the first thing. That's the second thing. Sorry, first thing is the difference between Jiva and Atma and Paramatma, and the next thing is that we are okay. Somebody is Harsh Patel is just going on in the comment section. Have you experienced more? Please listen to the lecture. Don't just ask questions when the lecture is going on. Listen to the lecture. Learn how to listen. So listening is important. We are explaining how Krishna is. Have you experienced? You first learn first what is Krishna, then you will experience. Huh? When you chant Krishna's name, then you will experience him. You first understand. When you hear about Krishna, then you qualify yourself to experience. Why you are jumping to experience? Why Krishna is so cheap that you can experience him without doing anything? First, qualify yourself. Yes, you can experience. Yes. Qualify. Without qualification, oh, I cannot see Krishna, therefore I don't, believe in Krishna. Rubbish. Qualify yourself. So, what is the qualification? Hearing and chanting. First thing. Shravanam Kirtanam. Sthane sthita shrutigatam tanuvan manobhir. Ye prayaso jitu jitopya sita istrilokyam. We have to hear. And then we will be eligible to see Krishna and even play with Krishna and everything. So here. Okay, so coming back to this. According to his identification with material and spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. Okay? Our body depends on our association. In the material world, he may take a body from any of the 8,400,000 species of life, but in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, okay, even if you see these 8.4 million species, okay, some are unisex, but some are bisexual. So 8.4 million species, but each has two genders, so 16 million kind of bodies, 16.8 million types of bodies, almost. Some are not, but yeah, mostly. So on an average, 16.5 million bodies. So just imagine how it is going on. In material nature, he is manifested sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc. according to his karma. To attain material heavenly planets and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes perform sacrifices yajna, but when his merit is exhausted, he returns to the earth again in the form of a man. This process is called karma. So this Elon Musk and this NASA and all this trying to go to different planets. This is not some huge breakthrough advancement of the 20th and 21st century. Krishna is talking here, and there is more information of how interplanetary travel happens. The Chandogya Upanishad. This is the explanation of interplanetary travel. It's not done by spaceships. It is not done by space suits. It is not done by all this machinery. It is done by our qualification, by our action, by our association with the modes. And that's how we are put into different bodies, different planets, different situations, different families, different countries, different species, different genders. So these are all, all based on our actions, on our conduct. We just have to qualify. Krishna has his whole system of logistics which will take us automatically to another planet if we qualify. If we qualify spiritually, then we will go all the way to Krishna Loka. If we only qualify materially, then we will go to another material planet. So we don't have to create the systems of transport. Krishna's transportation system is just so intricate and perfect that we just have to follow the rules set by Krishna, and we can go to any planet we may desire. So Krishna will do all the heavy lifting for us, for the transporting system, and he will give us a special body to live there and everything. All our suit, everything is arranged by Krishna. We don't need to construct anything. So we just have to conduct ourselves properly according to his rules. That's it. So here there is some explanation of how one travels, interplanetary travel, how it happens. The Chandogya Upanishad describes the Vedic sacrificial process. On the sacrificial altar, 5 kinds of offerings are made into 5 kinds of fire. The 5 kinds of fire are conceived of as the heavenly planets, clouds, the earth, man and woman, and the 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer on the moon, the rain, grains and semen. So how to understand what is this 5 kinds of fire and 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings, and they're not even fire and they're not even offerings? What is going on here? So that is explained for us in simple language. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. Okay? So this is how one reaches other planets. He has to appease the lord of that planet. For example, if I want to come to Singapore from India, I have to appease the Prime Minister of Singapore, who has outsourced that decision to a department called the Immigration Department. So I have to now appease the Immigration Department, which is a representative of the Prime Minister's, decision making. So he has outsourced his decision making to them. Now this Immigration Department, what does it need to be satisfied? So that's why they will ask a bunch of questions and bunch of documentation. And if we satisfy the requirements, they will give us an approval, visa, then we can enter the country. Similarly, and if you notice something else, in Singapore, if you have to apply as a tourist visa, and this goes for any country, by the way, especially the developed countries. So if I have to apply, if I'm in India and I have to apply for a Singapore visa, unless my finances are very good and they are confident that I won't go broke here and I will create a liability for the system, they will allow me in. And if I don't have any criminal record or any of that. But it is a little bit difficult on our own. But if somebody from Singapore recommends and he sponsors our visa within 1 day, without any questions asked, of course some questions, some details of personal details, but nothing else, and you can come in. So similarly, actually, to go to spiritual world, the process is impossible practically. Only someone from the spiritual world has to sponsor our visa, has to recommend us to Krishna, and then Krishna will say, okay, visa approved, come. Same thing. That's how we reach other planets. If we want to go to Indraloka, if you want to go to the moon, if you want to go to the sun, appease the ruler there. Then you'll get the visa, then you'll get the body, Next body you can go there and live there. And if you become so perfect, like Siddhaloka, they all are even so perfect that they can go to one planet from another, in their present body. That kind of freedom. And just imagine, even with a material body, even Siddhaloka, that is a material planet, and they have material bodies. And with those material bodies, they can go to any planet they like. You see how much free they have become even in their material body. Just imagine what the soul can do without any covering of a material body. Unlimited freedom, like Narad Muni. He can go spiritual world, he can go material world. Siddhaloka people cannot go to spiritual world. They can go here. They have material siddhas, material yogic perfections, but not spiritual perfection. Narad Muni, he can go to spiritual world, material world, anywhere he likes. That is even higher than those yogis, Siddhaloka Vasis. So you see, that is freedom. So real soul is actually very free, very full of freedom. But we are now so-called trapped because we wanted to be trapped. Okay? So that's how we reach the heavenly planets, by performing certain sacrifices to please those demigods of those planets. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in the form of rain. Now you look at the transportation system of Krishna. So we come in rain from heavenly planets. So when there's rainfall, there are some souls there. How fascinating is that? I mean, just forget about the souls. I mean, even the rainfall itself. Just look at Krishna's logistics and Krishna's transportation system and his whole. Effortlessly, he is transporting millions and billions of tons of water from one place to another without even a container. They're just suspended in the air and they're going as clouds. And when they have to drop, they will drop according to wherever he wants them to drop. The water will drop, tons of water. And how were they carried? Just like that, like a cotton swab. So planets are also similarly floating in the sky as cotton swabs. And that's because of Krishna's doing it. Gamavishya sarva, what is it? Gamavishya bhutani, not bhutani. Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 15, text 13. Gamavishya cha bhutani dharayamyaham ojasa pushnami chaushadhihi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. 15:13 of Bhagavad-gītā. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Look at that. And because of him, the clouds are water. And the water itself, along with the wind, has become the transportation system. Look at the genius of Krishna. And in that water, now you will understand another layer of detail, that there are some souls there coming from the heavenly planets. And they are taking, going into the ground and then, taking, birth as grains, and then the grains will be eaten by man, and man produces semen, and then the soul travels there and then travels into the womb of another woman, and then there takes a life, takes a human body. See how he falls down from heavenly planets is also described here in Chandogya Upanishad. How much detail there is in our thing. And we are trying to build spacecraft. Huh? So, when the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to earth in the form of rain, then takes on the form of grains, and the grains are eaten by man, transformed into semen, which impregnates a woman, and thus the living entity once again takes the human form to perform sacrifice, and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. Now, this is half of the movement of the living entity in the material world. Why half? Because if you see the planetary systems, there are 14 planetary systems in the universe, according to Vedas. So we are in the Bhuloka system, planetary system. Then there is Bhuvarloka, Svargaloka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. This is the highest. Brahma, Lord Brahma, lives in the Satyaloka planetary system. And the demigods, they live in the Svargaloka planetary system, the Devatas. And then after that, Janaloka, Maharloka, they are all great sages. Tapoloka, great tapasvis. Unadulterated brahmacharis and sannyasis, they go to Tapoloka. So they are all higher planetary systems above Bhuloka. Now below Bhuloka, there is Tala, Atala, Sutala, Tala, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Rasatala, Patala. Tala, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Patala. So these are all 7 planetary systems below the Bhuloka system. So what is described here, going as as a demigod and come back here as man, this is the upper portion of travel. The soul is traveling up and down. Tasyeva hetor tasyeva heto prayateta kovida nalabhyate yad bhramatam upari adha. Bhramatam upari adha. Upari means up, adha means down. Brahmatam means this revolving in the cycle, up and down, up and down. Sometimes in the heavenly planet, sometimes in the hellish planet, sometimes in the middle planetary systems, sometimes as a man, sometimes as an animal, sometimes as a bird, sometimes as a devata. So this way we are going up and down. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. So we are moving. So these movements, so this movement is only half of the movement, which is going up and coming down. What about going down to hellish planets and coming up again? What about that? How does that look like? Let me show you. When one does good deeds, not just good deeds, people say good deeds, but actually they're doing all stupid nonsense deeds because they don't work according to the shastric principles. Like for example, like some people are thinking they're very good, but they eat meat. That's not good. It's not good. Maybe this government of the country here doesn't punish, but government of God punishes. So we're actually not doing. So what is good, what is not good, we have to understand from the Shastra. What is that? 1624? I forgot. 1624. Yeah. Tasmat Shastram Pramanamte Karya Karya Vyavasthitau. Karya Akarya Vyavasthitau. Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartumiharhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures, of the Vedic scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So those who perform pious activities according to scriptures, not according to the state law, which is a man-made imperfect nonsense law, not according to any whimsical actions, it is according to the recommendations of scripture. So if we follow, then yes, we go to the higher planetary systems. And if we go against those rules of the Vedas, even though the state government, the national government approves of such activities, but if the Vedic scriptures do not approve of such activities, we will be punished. Oh no, I followed the state law, I was a very honest citizen. Yeah, you were an honest rascal. Because suppose, for example, eating meat, the government is not going to punish. No, I followed every law of the government. Yeah, but you did not follow my law, Krishna will say. Therefore go to the hell. Yamaraj will take care of you. So we have to know from scriptures what is the correct and wrong, what is good and what is bad. So if we do actions, if we perform actions against, whether knowingly or unknowingly, oh no, I did not know that this was wrong. Sorry. I can't say, see in America the people they drive on the right side of the road and the steering is on the left side of the vehicle. So they drive on the right side of the road. And here we drive on the left side of the road. Now I can't go to America and say I drive on the left side of the road. Oh, I did not know that we have to drive the other side. No. If you are coming to our country, you have to know the law of the land. Similarly, every land belongs to Krishna, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, and he calls the shots. What are rules and what are not? What are the consequences of following the rules and what are the consequences of not following the rules or disobeying the rules? So what happens to a person who goes below to the lower planetary systems? which are inhabited by souls who have been against the Vedic principles. So what happens here? Let's look at some few verses here. Okay, let's just read the whole chapter. Only the translations though. So you see, so the misguided materialist. These misguided people go to hell, and you see what kind of people go to hell and what is the journey to hell look like. The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. He doesn't know all these things. He just thinks everything is going to be permanent, everything is going to be happy. And so, out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. The living entity, in whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition. Now, we are very satisfied when being in our body, in our human body. Actually, it's a very inconvenient body, honestly. But if we become a pig next life, we will be happy there also. Happy means not exactly happy, we're satisfied. We just like adapt to that. And then we, okay, you know what, this is my reality for at least few years, I'm just going to be here. So, the conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life while deluded by the covering influence of the illusory energy, Maya. He feels little inclined, that means hardly he feels inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. You see that? Even in hell, even in animal body, he does not feel any inclination to cast off his body. Little inclined, that means he is hardly inclined to cast off his body. He wants to protect it. That's why we have defense systems. We want to protect our body because we want to live in this body. We like our body. We like our imprisonment in this body. That does not mean we go and commit suicide now. That's not what I'm saying. To liberate, suicide means we'll get another body, ghostly body. It's not the end of liberation. So yeah, if you think suicide is liberation, it's not. Liberation means no more getting another body. That is liberation. So anyway, so this ignorant person, they don't know about these things. So such satisfaction with one standard of living is due to deep-rooted attraction for body, wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect. Although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so-called family and society. Now, he is being a very nice family man. Okay? But he is considered here fool. Let's see. He gives heart and senses to a woman who falsely charms him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embraces and talking with her, and he is enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. Now, this all looks like cute and nice. Oh, YouTube, they glorify all these things. Oh, that was so nice. That was so cute. Oh, very good. Oh, this and that. Let's see what happens with this cute fellow. The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. And if he can successfully counteract such miseries, he thinks that he's happy. So now, in this family life, he is faced with a lot of miserable conditions. And if he can somehow counteract them and stay afloat, he considers himself successful and happy. Yes, I made it. Now, he secures money by committing violence here and there, and although he employs it in the service of his family, he himself eats only a little portion of the food thus purchased, and he goes to hell for those for whom he earned the money in such an irregular way. Now, you may say, no, I'm not doing any, I'm not committing any violence. I'm just a Uber driver or I'm a Grab driver. Grab is like an Uber here. And I think in India there is Ola and all kind of, so every country has this kind of now copycat of Uber. which was the original one. So we order food and we get it. So McDonald's has a delivery system of its own, and a Pizza Hut has its own. I'm just a driver from McDonald's. I'm just earning honestly, for my family. But honestly, what are we doing? We are securing money by committing violence. Because what are we transporting this McDonald's? Chicken burger, pizza, beef burger, or beef pizza, whatever. I don't know what varieties they have, but this is violence on animals, and I am a delivery driver for that. No, no, Prabhu, I am not doing the delivery job. I am working in the bank. Oh, bank is holding accounts for who? Prostitution centers, hotels, this meat industries, everything, and I am supporting. Indirectly or directly in this Kali Yuga, everybody is somehow committing sinful activities. But at least directly we should not do it. So, if you see in this way, from a Shastric viewpoint, everybody is committing violence. So even if one is very honestly doing his job, he is actually honestly committing violence. This is the cute fellow who is family first, family man, the nice guy. This is the nice guy. When he suffers reverses in his occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself, but he is baffled in all attempts and is ruined. He accepts money from others because of excessive greed. Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. You see? So, I'm not making fun of anyone, but we have to change our perception. That's why I'm being this animated and, like making expressions, so to make you understand that what we think is right is not right. Just because the government allows it does not make it right. Okay? What Krishna says, that is right. We have to do that. If Krishna does not sanction something, even if the government sanctions, we cannot do it. Because Krishna has his own government, which which doesn't care a fig for these governments of this earth. He can just put one tsunami and drown the entire Singapore. What to speak of government or whatever. He can drown the entire city in one moment if he wants. Not only the city, but entire world he can drown if he wants. The ice is waiting on the Arctic and Antarctic Circle. They just have to melt. Enough. So thus the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. Seeing him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before. Even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn out oxen. Just as the miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn out oxen. Oxen means bulls. Because farmers, they use bulls to cultivate the land. But when the bulls become old, then they don't get the same treatment. So similarly, the family members, they also don't treat the man in the same way when he cannot provide anymore. They treat him as a liability. They treat him as a pain. The foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. Thus he remains at home just like a pet dog and eats whatever is so negligently given to him. Afflicted with many illnesses such as dyspepsia and loss of appetite, he eats only very small morsels of food and he becomes an invalid who cannot work anymore. Look at him. Look at this description. This is like strong language. Dog, pet dog. That's why it is said to take sannyas after 50. Don't remain in this, what is it called? Embarrassing situation of, being treated like a pet dog. Use that time for self-realization. So, in that diseased condition, one's eyes bulge due to the pressure of air from within, and his glands become congested with mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces a sound like ghur ghur, a rattling within the throat, like what I just was doing. All these sounds, As you become old, you'll do a lot of those sounds. So I'm becoming old. In this way, he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by lamenting friends and relatives, and although he wants to speak with them, he no longer can, because he is under the control of time. Thus, the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief, seeing his relatives crying. He dies most pathetically, in great pain and without consciousness. He dies most pathetically. They say, oh, he died peacefully. Shastra is saying he is dying pathetically here. He wants to talk, but he cannot talk. Oh, he did not talk anything. He just passed away peacefully. He did not talk because he could not talk. He wanted to. And in the frustration, he died. So we make our own explanations of these things just to console ourselves, but the truth is completely different. So at death, he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death, Yamaraj's servants, messengers of Yamaraj, who are called Yamadutas. So these Yamadutas, they come. At death, he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him, their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear he passes stool and urine. As a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadutas, who bind him by the neck with strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. While carried by the constables of Yamaraj, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. Now he is died. He is taken. The soul is being taken to the Yamaraj's place by the Yamadutas. It's not that, sometimes in Indian movies they, show that Yamaraj himself comes and, kills him or takes the soul away. No, Yamaraj doesn't come. As you know, the word Yaraj, Yamaraj. Raj means he's the king. He has so many servants who do this for him. From everywhere they collect and bring to him. So while carried by the constables of Yamaraj, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs. And he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. Under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through roads of hot sand, with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by the constables because of his inability to walk, and he is afflicted by hunger and thirst, but unfortunately there is no drinking water, no shelter, and no place for rest on the road. While passing on that road to the abode of Yamaraj, he falls down in fatigue, and sometimes he becomes unconscious, but he is forced to rise again. In this way, he is very quickly brought to the presence of Yamaraj. Thus, he has to pass 99,000 yojanas within 2 or 3 moments, and thus he is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which he is destined to suffer. What is this 99,000 yojanas? 1 yojana is 8 miles. So 99,000 yojanas is 792,000 miles, which is about 1,300,000 kilometers in 2 or 3 moments, in earthly moments. But actually for him it is like a long journey. But in our earthly time, in 2 or 3 moments he reaches there. Now, he is placed in the midst of burning pieces of wood. Now the punishment starts. And his limbs are set on fire. In some cases, he is made to eat his own flesh or have it eaten by others. His entrails, that means his intestines, his entrails are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of hell. Even though he is still alive to see it, and he is subjected to, still alive to see it. So his intestines are all pulled out and he doesn't die. There in hellish planets, we don't die. We will stay alive, feel the pain, and continue to feel the pain, but won't die. Here, When there is immense torture, there is death, and then one is saved from all that pain, and then one goes to the next. But there, no. We will feel the pain and feel the pain and feel the pain, but we will never die. Until Yamaraj thinks that, okay, his punishment is now finished, then let him go. And go where? We will learn now. It's not that, oh, I will come back as a human. No. Let's see what happens. His entrails are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of hell, and even though he's still alive to see it. And he is subjected to torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him. Next, his limbs are lopped off, means his limbs are cut off like that, and torn asunder by elephants. So it's not cut off by a weapon. Elephants with the trunk, they catch one limb, and another elephant another limb, and another elephant one leg, another elephant another leg, torn apart. Elephants, not just some humans, elephants. He is hurled down from hilltops. From hilltops, throw. And he is also held captive either in water or in a cave. Men and women whose lives were built upon indulgence in illicit sex life were put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hells known as Tamisra, Andha-tamisra and Raurava. So, what are these Tamisra, Andha-tamisra, Raurava, different kinds of hellish punishments? They are described in the 5th canto, 26th chapter of śrī-bhagavān. We are not going to go there because it's much more lengthy. Let us continue here. Lord Kapila continued, my dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet also. And actually it's true. When we have these natural calamities or some untoward incidences which are very unnatural, very gory, very, as they say in the video, viewers' discretion is advised. Violence, scenes of violence, something like that. So those things are hellish punishments. I think recently there was this movie, Kashmir Files. I haven't seen the movie, but I heard about it, and I saw some trailer of it on how there was some violence that was committed in Kashmir against the Brahman community, and I mean the Hindus, Kashmiri Hindus. So that is like horrible. I mean, that is straight out of hell. Straight out of hell. Then why do the so-called Hindus get it? This is the thing. Before, in the previous lives, what they were, we do not know. Everybody is getting his due course, due justice is being meted out to everyone. God does not do injustice to anyone. It's only because we do not understand why we are put in a certain situation and why we suffer. They say, oh, why bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people, as if bad people are not getting any bad things and good people are not getting any good things. They ask that why good things are happening to bad people and bad things happen to good people. The reason is, first of all, I don't know whether he's a good person, because honestly we have to check from Shastra whether he's a good person. Okay, even if he's good, if he is going through something bad time, that's because of his previous life's actions. How we know what we did? So that's why we are suffering. So, to give you some context, Varaha Puran says, Rakshasaha kalimashritya jayante brahmayonishu utpanna brahmana kule badhante shrotriyan krishan. So, Rakshasas of the previous ages take birth in Brahmin families in Kali Yuga. Why? How come? What is this? Because they take birth in such families and they actually blaspheme against the real Sanatana Dharma, the real Dharma. And we can see that in modern day Brahmin families, they are all against real principles of Brahminical life. They are all becoming Shudras only, with just one sacred thread. It's not even sacred, it's just a thread actually. It only becomes sacred when it is connected with the Lord and with the bona fide spiritual master. Then the connection becomes sacred. Otherwise, it's just a thread, fashion. That's all. Meaningless fashion. Just as much as a fake certificate is useless, a thread without proper initiation and qualification is useless. Similarly. So these so-called Brahmins, so by calling themselves as Brahmins, they're actually destroying the Vedic culture and causing so much inauspiciousness in the world. So Rakshasas cause inauspiciousness in the world, and here they're causing inauspiciousness just by being born in the Brahmin family. Why? Because in the Brahmin family there is no practice nowadays of anything. And Brahmins, what they are supposed to do? They are supposed to teach the whole world. Pathan Pathan, Yajan Yajan, Dana Pratigraha. These are the six domain of activities of Brahmanas. And they're not doing that. So, when they don't teach the general population about the real aim of life and the Vedic, what does these six things means? Pathan Pathan means he has to study the Vedic literature and then he has to teach the Vedic literature and the aim of life and all these things, Krishna consciousness to others. That is a Brahmana. And because he does not do that, they are becoming inauspicious more and more. The more and more we disconnect from Krishna, the more and more become inauspicious. They themselves are becoming inauspicious, them causing inauspiciousness for the world just by not doing the duty of a Brahmana. Just by existing, they are causing inauspiciousness for the world. Rakshasa. Rakshasas, by their existence, they cause inauspiciousness. Just by existing, these Brahmins of today are causing inauspiciousness for the world. Because what is Himsa? Prabhupada describes very nicely. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I think Thakur, he has, I think, defined like that. But in the Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 12, verse 135, purport, Prabhupada explains that Jiva Himsa means to not preach Krishna consciousness. Himsa means violence, to cause suffering to someone. Now, if I don't preach, then that person will continue to suffer. So I am causing him to suffer by knowing it and not preaching it. Or being supposed to know and then preach, I am not even making an attempt to know now. So I am supposed to be, if I am called myself a Brahmana, Brahma Janati Brahmana, one who knows what is Brahman, what is Parabrahman, all these things. So that means basically spiritual matter. One who knows the spiritual science, he is a Brahmana. It's not a birth thing. So, but these Rakshasa Kalimashritya Jayante Brahma Yonishu, they take birth in so-called Brahmin families and ruin the whole culture, ruin the whole world because of that. If, you see, Prabhupada, he just one person who's a real Brahmin, Vaishnava in fact, much higher than ordinary Brahmin. He went to America and purified the entire, 6 continents. He set up everywhere. And so many Mlechas, Yavanas, Chandalas are becoming purified. Lowest of the low human beings, they are getting purified. If all Brahmanas of India do that, how much the world will be benefited? Will we have wars? Will we have stupid rascal scientists wasting their brains and creating a lab virus? Instead of that, they will use their brains to study the Shastra and preach Krishna consciousness. We will not have these idiots doing this nonsense research. And somebody producing stupid vaccines. All scam. We will not have these people. All the intelligence is misused. Yes, to produce a virus like that, it requires some intelligence. But it's a misused intelligence. If we don't have those things, if a Brahmanas had preached, then we would not have this kind of percentage of idiotic population that we have today. Directionless, completely. Don't know what to do with their lives. Do everything nonsense. So, just by existing in the Brahmin families, these are asuras, Rakshasas. They are causing inauspiciousness in the world. That is Jiva Himsa. Just by existing, they are committing violence. So, they suffer. I mean, this is all, how our present civilization has come to what it is now. So, anyway, men and women whose lives are built upon indulgence in illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions. Illicit sex is not only sex outside of marriage, but also sex within marriage and not for procreation, just for, sense gratification. That is all illicit sex. So, people will be punished. Oh, very good man. What did he do? Having sex with wife. Not for procreation, simply. Good man. So we are thinking we are good, I'm very good, I don't do anything wrong. As far as I do good, that's fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine, yes. But are you doing good? Who knows? How you know? How you know you're doing good or not? When you don't know what is the baseline of what is good and bad, what is the basis of good and bad, if I don't know, I am just following an imaginary version of good and bad, which the government has given us. Oh, this is lawful activity, this is outlaw, this is, criminal activity. They have defined some arbitrary, just made up rules. Some, of course, have their roots in religious scriptures, like, for example, marriage. Now they're trying to overthrow that also with gay marriage and all this rubbish. But actually, marriage in any religious system is man and woman, and therefore procreation and all those things, children and all that. That is the family structure given by God, Krishna. So all these, and based on the family, there are rules. There are children. The education system is constructed over that, and all that has its roots in religion. If you see any law, why are they laws? Because actually, originally comes from religion. But they have invented their own things also. According to time, those things are being erased. Oh, why we should just allow only vegetarian? No, why? You can eat meat if you want. Yeah, I will just legalize it, make everybody happy. Because democracy, right? They have to win votes. So if people are all meat eaters, I have to say yes, I will allow meat eating. Otherwise, they will not vote for me. So this is the problem with democracy. The perfect system is monarchy, but the king should be Rajarshi. He is a sagacious king. So therefore, he is trained from young how to be humble, brahmachari. Even though he is a king's son, he will still beg door to door and he will still do all menial service. Develop character first. Then you become king. Then you will be proper. You know how to. And you should know religious principles and everything. And then, yes. Such a king, there is no need of votes. Because general population, what they know? The children are going to elect the teacher. No, the school board will elect the teacher, and they have to be, having certification or allowance from the Minister of Education. So there is who decides the teachers of the education system? Government and the school board. Students don't decide. So the population, they have to be guided. They have to be guided. They are not to decide where they want to go, and then choose a leader who will allow them to go where they want to go. They will go to hell, and the leader also will go with them. So Lord Kapila continued, my dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet also. So after leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members, family man, the cute family man, oh so cute, he by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. That means the karma which he accrued by the envying other living entities. If I am a McDonald's delivery guy, I am envying other living entities because my profit depends on killing some birds and some animals. So I envy their life, or I hate their life, hate them to be alive, because if they are alive, I will not have a business. I want them dead so that I can serve them. They can be cooked and I can serve them to them, deliver them to them, then I can get my money. So my earning of my money is based on the death of someone. So this is called acquiring money by envying other living entities. Government may not say anything. Krishna is going to give nicely. Yamaraj is going to give super. We will be the chicken there in the hellish planet. We will be eaten, but we will not die. We will be eaten. Thus, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of the kinsman is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost his wealth. Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as Andhatamisra. And black methods, according to Shastra, not according to government. Again, I am repeating. Now, having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. So he goes to hell after this arduous journey, get his entrails ripped apart, his body torn apart, and then boiled and baked and everything, fried and everything. And then after that, after hellish punishment finish, okay, Yamaraj says bye bye, tata. Then where we go? Human life? No, no, no. Regular order in the animal, lowest forms of animal. Then you go as fish. Start fish, small fish. And that kind of fish is eaten always by a bigger fish within seconds. Okay, finish. Then go next higher. Next higher. So 900,000 Jalajan Avalakshani. 900,000 lives as aquatics we will go through. And then next, Sthavara Lakshavimsati. 2 million types of trees. One tree after another tree after another tree after another tree. And sometimes being chopped, sometimes being so many things. And each tree lives for like sometimes maybe only like few moments, sometimes few years, sometimes few hundreds years, sometimes few thousands of years. So in each life, 2 million types of trees. Thavara Lakshvimsati. Then Krimayorudra Sankhyankaha. Next. What is that? Insects, reptiles, lizards. How many? 1.1 million. 1.1 million types. Then Pakshinam Dashalakshanam. 1 million types of birds. One bird after another bird after another bird. Then Trimshal Lakshas Chatushpadaha. 3 million types of four-legged animals. 4-legged animals. 3 million types. And finally Chaturlaksha Manushaha. Then we'll come back into human life. And human life also first as the forest tribals, almost like animals. And slowly into civilized life. Let's say each of the 8 million, so there are 8.4 million species of life, and the 0.4 million species is human species, which include demigods and everything. So the 8 million species below the humans are all subhuman, like animals, insects, birds, trees, fish. Now let's say, hypothetically, in each life form, we spend 1 year. Now, we know some insects die within moments or days or whatever. But the trees live for thousands of years sometimes. So you just average out, let's say, it's just a very optimistic view. Actually, we live way more than that. So let's say 1 year in each species. As a dog 1 year, cat 1 year. But dogs would live for at least 14-15 years, and trees live for thousands of years, and But let's say just 1 year, hypothetically. 8 million species. 8 million years. And that's the most optimistic. What if it's 2 years, 3 years in one? And immediately it multiplies 16, 24 million years. After which we will get a human body. So if in this life I am committing acts of sin, you just look at how long the suffering is going to be. No, not just next life I'm going to suffer. No. I am going to go to hell, suffer there for a few thousand years, and then after that start in the lowest forms of animal life and go up all the way progressively, one by one, back to human life. One life's mistakes will cost us millions of years of suffering. The long tail of karma follows. One action here, one long tail. This is what happens when we go downward. We have in the Chandogya Upanishad, so is okay, we go to heavenly planets and live there for many thousands of years and then come down as rain. And then become grain and eaten by man, and again that's how we become a human being. That is upward planetary system. Downward is this way. Look at the movements now. And okay. So this is the movements. Just understand. So let's say the Krishna conscious person, however, avoids such sacrifices. They sacrifice to go to heavenly planets and all that. He's not interested. He does not want to go up or down in this material world. He wants to go back to Krishna. he takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to return to Godhead. Now, this verse is there, Srimad-Bhagavatam 1.5.18. Tasyaiva hetoh prayateta kovido nalabhyate yad bhramatamupariyatha tallabhyate dukkha vadanyatah sukham kalena sarvatra gabhiraram hasa. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Patala. That means an intelligent person who's broad-minded, actually intelligent, thus prayateta kovida means extremely intelligent person. He should not endeavor for doing some sacrifice to go to heavenly planets, and after finish you come back as rain and come grain and then eaten by man and do sinful activities, go down hellish planets, and then after the suffering in hell, going to the animals and one by one all the way come back to human life, and again do some sacrifice, go to heavenly planets, and then after that come back as rain. What is this nonsense? What is this rubbish? Uparyatha, this going up and down, if you see somebody running up and down on the staircase of the building, he's going up and coming down, running down, running up, running down, running, or he's going to the lift. Oh, floor level 1. Okay, now let me go to the 100th floor. You go to the 100th floor, and then go to 50th floor, then go to 27th floor, then go to 72nd floor, then go to 90th floor, then come to 2nd floor. If a person is doing this, what do you think he is? He's a crazy idiot. Get this nuisance out of here. Right? We are being that nuisance. We are doing that with our actions. We are just staying in this material world, going up and down like an idiot. So now those who are intelligent, they will endeavor for that purposeful end which is not obtainable by anywhere here. What is that purposeful end? Krishna consciousness, which is not obtainable in any of these 14 planetary systems. He goes directly to Krishna Loka. See? So, impersonalist commentators on the Bhagavad-gītā unreasonably assume that Brahman takes on the form of Jiva in the material world and substantiate. Okay, so we have covered this, that the Jiva and Paramatma cannot be one. It cannot be cleavable. They cannot be. There is no cleavage. It cannot be like separation. And then coalescence. Coalescence means join back again. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the soul. Because Nainam Chindanti Shastran, the soul cannot be cut. It's not cleavable. It's not cuttable. Although there's no word as cuttable, but that's part of it. The fragment of God, living entity, may fall down. This is the other thing. We are chuta. Why we are called marginal? Why we are sometimes overpowered by material energy? It's not overpowered. We are enamored by material energy, and then we trap ourselves in that. Why? Because we are chuta. Chuta means we are fallible, but achyuta means infallible. He does not fall down. Therefore, this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assumed the form of Jiva is not acceptable, and it is important to remember in the Vedic literature Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from the Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. So the activities, today's subject is activities of the pure soul. So the activities of pure soul should be Krishna consciousness. And a person who knows Krishna will understand not only Krishna, but all his energies as well, which includes himself, which includes all the souls who are the Parashakti, who are the superior living entities, and Aparashakti is the material elements. So when we say knowing Krishna means to know everything, all the energies of Krishna, everything. So dhyātmam, karma, adhibhūtam, adhidaivam, adhiyajñam, everything we have to know. So then we can engage ourselves in pure Krishna consciousness, and our pure activities, instead of roaming around like a fool here, we have to engage in Krishna service and be transported to the spiritual world. That is the entire aim of. So to get there, to have that conviction, complete conviction, so we have to understand this from all angles of vision. Then we'll have the conviction in Krishna, and conviction in devotional service, conviction in Krishna consciousness. So that's why we have to read regularly. Read regularly. So then we will be constantly in touch with the spiritual knowledge and our ignorance will be dispelled. But if we choose not to read Prabhupada's books, then it's, the dust of Maya collects. Like you see, okay, I clean the table, no dust. Now if I don't clean for a week, the dust will accumulate. And even for 2 days, 3 days, it will accumulate. So I have to constantly clean. That's exactly how our heart is. It's not that, Prabhu, I chanted, oh, my heart is now clean. Yeah, dust will again come. And it's not completely clean because we are not chanting purely. So chanting with offenses and all this. So dust is still there. And then more dust is being added every moment. So this cleaning has to be regular. Just as we sweep the room every day, like that. We have to clean every day our heart. And that happens with the Shravanam Kirtanam. Vishnu, like you see this verse. Thorough cleansing has to be there. प्रविष्टः कर्णरन्ध्रेण स्वानां भावसरोरुहं धुनोति शमलं कृष्णः सलिलस्य यथा शरत्. Okay, just read the previous verse, 284. शृण्वतः श्रद्धया नित्यं गृणतश्च स्वचेष्टितं कालेन नातिदीर्घेण भगवान् विशते हृदि. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. Pravishtah karnarandhrena svanam bhavasaroruham dhunoti shamalam krishna salilasya yathasharat. The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is the Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee through the ear. Actually, I don't know, that is not mentioned here. Karnarandhrena, by the holes of the ear it enters and enters into the heart. Swanam bhavasaroruham, and sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship and thus cleanses the dust for material association such as lust, anger and hankering. Thus it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water. When the rain is there, cleanse everything. So this is also reflected in another verse, 1 to 17, which is a famous verse Prabhupada always quoted. शृण्वतां स्वकथाः कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृद्यन्तः स्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम्. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee. See, he cleanses. Who has developed the urge to hear his messages. So if we don't have the urge or the eagerness to hear Krishna's messages, we can never be cleansed. So the gauge of a devotee, how serious he is, can be seen in how attentive he is in the classes and how seriously he reads. Not some micro reading like, somebody shared some quote in the WhatsApp group or a Facebook post, Instagram post, and I read that. Yeah, I do some reading, Prabhu. I read some Instagram posts, Prabhupada's quotes. That's not reading. That's some micro reading and then nonsense. Our mind must be absorbed and contemplating the whole subject matter and taking it seriously. Read for a length of time, 1 hour, 2 hours. Read. That absorption should be there. Absorption is what the word is. Hearing and chanting is, but absorption in that. How much we absorb. Absorb means not how much we understand, how much we engage with that. Like how much we're engrossed in that. And continuously, for a long period of time. Every single day on a daily basis. And that's how we make advancement. Please do service also. Don't just read. I'm reading Prabhu. Prabhu asked me to read, so I'm reading. Don't give the crap. You do service and everything has to be done. So, chanting, reading, service, everything. You not compromise on anything. So, I think I'll stop it there. What is the time? Oh, 10 o'clock. Okay, so questions. I think there are a lot of questions in the comment section. Hmm. Srikant Tupurani. DNA clearly cries out that there is high probability of existence of God. Why scientists are lying? It is difficult to understand the unknown reasons why they are lying. See, this DNA, all these methods are developed by Western scientists. Why we have to look at even DNA? I don't know. What are you meaning by DNA? The DNA. Nobody can make such a perfect arrangement of a living entity with unique characteristics, where the DNA mix and then they form this unique code. Yeah, scientists are observing DNA and all this, but who is creating all these things? Who's creating all these things? It's not the DNA that is giving anything. The DNA is just an indication of what his karma is going to be. But, and there are other things also which indicate that. But the soul is the one. Because the dead body also has DNA, but it has no life. The soul is what gives life, not DNA or anything like that. So anyway, the existence of God is understood by any common sense person with common sense. If you just look up, you just have to look up in the night sky and then see how the stars are situated. If you just try to understand how are these stars just like suspended in the sky like that, what is the whole is you know nowadays people don't have the luxury of actually looking up at the sky and seeing these millions of stars. But in the villages, those days, when I was a kid, I saw. We were saying like that. But nowadays, everywhere there's so much light, and we don't even look at the sky anymore. We look at the phone screen nowadays. There's no opportunity to look at the sky and even think. So, and I saw this beautiful thing, when I went to New Zealand, and we were staying in this farm, and there was no light in the night, and you just have to look upward, and the sky is just filled. There's not a millimeter, not a micrometer of space. That many stars. And if you just gaze at the stars, stargazing is a thing. And if you just gaze at these stars, you just like, wow, this is so vast. And you feel like you're so tiny in the entire grand scheme of things. And what is that big picture? What is the grand plan here? You start to question, and any common sense man will start to question. Even if you can't gaze at stars, you're not bereft of becoming Krishna conscious, because you see the sun, for example. Wow, that's like, what kind of arrangement is that? Like a fiery globe somewhere in the sky, and then it's maintaining all life on earth. What is that? God is just easily found. He is simple to be found. He is simply found by the simple minded. But for the crooked, he will never be found. I became woman because I associate with passion and ignorance. I got woman's body because my association was with passion and ignorance in previous birth. Well, everyone, woman or man, everyone is in mixtures of passion, ignorance. Yeah, but woman's body is more in the mode of passion. And those who are woman, Yoshit Sangi, Stri Sangi, Nari Sangi, those who are associating with women, they also become passionate and ignorant. But that's why, the man is supposed to be by nature in the mode of goodness. But when he lusts after a woman, then he comes under the influence of mode of passion and ignorance. Man, in today's day and age, everybody is lusting after women, and that's why no man is in the mode of goodness. So the man is supposed to like guide the woman to. That's why there's husband and wife, and husband is supposed to be the guru for the wife. But nowadays, everybody is just under the woman, and he's. That's why there's this purport, 427.1. I think you have seen that. Hmm. In other words, a systematic family life as enjoined in the Vedas is better than an irresponsible sinful life. If a husband and wife combine together in Krishna consciousness and live together peacefully, that is very nice. However, if a husband becomes too much attracted by his wife and forgets his duty in life, the implications of materialistic life will again resume. You see this? So, man should not be too much attached to his wife. He should not. Um, the Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore recommended anasaktasya vishayan. Without being attached by sex, the husband and wife may live together for the advancement of spiritual life. The husband should engage in devotional service and the wife should be faithful and religious according to the Vedic injunctions. Such a combination is very good. However, if the husband becomes too much attracted to the wife due to sex, the position becomes very dangerous. Women in general are very much sexually inclined. Indeed, it is said that a woman's sex desire is 9 times stronger than a man's. It is therefore a man's duty to keep a woman under his control by satisfying her, giving her ornaments, nice food and clothes, and engaging her in religious activities. Of course, a woman should have a few children and in this way not be disturbing to the man. Unfortunately, if the man becomes attracted to the woman simply for sex enjoyment, then family life becomes abominable. The great politician Chanakya Pandit has said, Bharya Rupavati Shatruhu. A beautiful wife is an enemy. Of course, every woman in the eyes of her husband is very beautiful. Others may see her as not very beautiful, but the husband, being very much attracted to her, sees her always as very beautiful. If the husband sees the wife as very beautiful, it is to be assumed that he is too much attracted to her. This attraction is the attraction of sex. The whole world is captivated by the two modes of material nature, Rajogun and Tamogun, passion and ignorance. Generally, women are very much passionate and are less intelligent. Therefore, somehow or other, a man should not be under the control of their passion and ignorance. By performing bhakti yoga or devotional service, a man can be raised to the platform of goodness. If a husband situated in the mode of goodness can control his wife, who is in passion and ignorance, the woman is benefited. Forgetting her natural inclination for passion and ignorance, the woman becomes obedient and faithful to her husband, who is situated in goodness. Such a life becomes very welcome. The intelligence of the man and woman may then work very nicely together and they can make progressive march towards spiritual realization. Otherwise, the husband, coming under the control of the wife, sacrifices his quality of goodness and becomes subservient to the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this way, the whole situation becomes polluted. That's the point. So, women in the mode of ignorance, passion, because the passion is very high in the body of a woman, it has to be. It's not that, oh, how we can say that. No, it's not accusing anyone of anything, it's just the way things are. Because unless one is that lusty, one will not agree to become pregnant and go through labor every time. They don't want to go through this. But they agree to go through this because of the force of the lust. So they have to be that much more lustier. But therefore, the man must be self-controlled. And nowadays, there's no brahmachari training, so everybody is just learning how to, go after the woman. And that's why the men, vast majority of today's men, do not have that capability to guide a woman to spiritual life. So, anyway, so that's that. Rajendra Solanki, it is difficult to live in Sato. What is Sato? Around Rajogun. What should do to human who live with family? Okay, one may have a family, but one must associate with devotees. Regularly, you should come to the temple, associate with devotees. And here, sthāne sthita. You don't have to leave family immediately because your mind also will not allow. Actually, anybody can leave family. The only reason why we can't leave is because of our own attachment. The only similar. I mean, this is all. The only reason why we can't leave our material situations is because the cocoon. Just look at this. or 6:1. Okay. Dehyajñojita shadvargo nechan karmani karyate koshakara iva atmanam karmanachadyamuhyati. The foolish embodied living entity, inept. Adept means very good at. Inept means not good at. So the foolish embodied living entity, inept at controlling his senses and mind, is forced to act according to the influence of the modes of material nature against his desires. He is like a silkworm that uses its own saliva to create a cocoon and then becomes trapped in it, with no possibility of getting out. The living entity traps himself in a network of his own fruitive activities and then can find no way to release himself. Thus, he is always bewildered and repeatedly he dies. This is one explanation of a cocoon. And let me give this other explanation. Katham priyaya anukampitaya sangam rahasyam ruchiramscha mantran suhritsu tatsnehasitah shishunam kalakṣaraṁ anurakta chittah putran smaramsta duhitrir hridaya bhratrin swasrirva pitaro cha dino Grihan manogyoruparichhadamscha vrittischa kulyah pashubhritya vargan tyajeta koshas kridiveha manah karmani lobhat avitripta kamah aupasthya jaihvam bahumanyamanah katham virajyeta duranta moha. It's a very thought-provoking verse. 3 verses actually. You see, how can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with their pictures, give up their association? Specifically, a wife is always very kind and sympathetic and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such a dear and affectionate wife? Small children talk in broken language, very pleasing to hear, and their affectionate father always thinks of their sweet words. How could he give up their association? One's elderly parents and one's sons and daughters are also very dear. A daughter is especially dear to her father, and while living at her husband's house, she is always in his mind. Who could give up that association? Aside from this, in household affairs, there are many decorated items of household furniture, and there are also animals and servants. Who could give up such comforts? The attached householder is like a silkworm which weaves a cocoon in which it becomes imprisoned, unable to get out. Simply for the satisfaction of 2 important senses, the genitals and the tongue, one is bound by material conditions. How can one escape? So you can see, so how to come out of then? How come out of it? The only way is to associate with devotees. There are a few series of verses which explain this, but I'm just going to show one of them. 7:14:1 Bhagavatam. Yudhishthira uvāca grahastha etam padavim vidhina yena chanjasa yaya devarshe bruhi madrisho grihamudhadhi. Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking Narada Muni, O my lord, O great sage, kindly explain how we who are staying at home without knowledge of the goal of life may also easily attain liberation according to the instructions of the Vedas. Sri Narada uvāca griheshvavasthito rajan kriyaha kurvan yathochitaha Vasudevarpanam sakshat upasita mahamunin. Narada Muni replied, My dear king, those who stay at home as householders must act to earn their livelihood, and instead of trying to enjoy the results of their work themselves, they should offer these results to Krishna, Vasudeva. How to satisfy Vasudeva in this life can be perfectly understood through the association of great devotees of the Lord. So they should associate with the Lord and learn from them how to satisfy Vasudeva and how to offer the results of their work to Krishna and then continue their work. So in this is Shrinvan Bhagavato Bhikshinam Avatara Kathamritam Shraddhano Yathakalam Upashanta Janavritah satsangāchanakaihi sangam atmajāyātmajādishu vimunchen muchyamaneshu swayam swapnavaduthitah. A grihastha must associate again and again. This is the thing. This is the point I want to actually show. A grihastha must associate again and again with saintly persons, and with great respect he must hear the nectar of the activities of the Supreme Lord and his incarnations, as these activities are described in śrī-bhagavān and other Puranas. Thus, one should gradually become detached from affection for his wife and children, exactly like a man awakening from a dream. Again and again we would associate with Yavadarthamupasino dehe gehe cha panditah virakto raktavattatra nirloke naratam nyaset. While working to earn his livelihood as much as necessary to maintain body and soul together, one who is actually learned should live in human society unattached to family affairs, although externally appearing very much attached. So you have to do some acting also. You have to develop some acting skills. So you have to externally appear very much attached, but in the heart you should be not attached. How to do that? Learn some acting. No. I mean, if you are Krishna conscious, you will know how to deal with situations. Krishna will give you the intelligence. Dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. He, those who are endeavoring to come to him and always trying to serve him, he will give the intelligence how to, and the devotees will guide. Give intelligence means he will give an intelligence from the heart, through his devotees, through the books, through the class. So, and through observing other devotees how they are doing it, then he learns something. So, in many ways, Krishna guides, but we have to be sincere. Jnātayah pitarau putra bhratarah suhrido pare yadvadanti yadichanti chanu modeta nirmamah. An intelligent man in human society should make his own program of activities very simple. If there are suggestions from his friends, children, parents, brothers, or anyone else, he should externally agree, saying, yes, that is all right, but internally he should be determined not to create a cumbersome life in which the purpose of life will not be fulfilled. So this is how to conduct yourself. It all sadhu-sanga sarva siddhi hoy. With association of devotees, every other perfection will be there. Saurav Sahu. Was time stopped when Krishna told Bhagavad-gītā to Arjuna? No. What do you mean time stopped? 45 minutes they spoke. Everything. So, and it was available to everyone. I mean, whoever could listen, they could listen. Why other modes coming to make distraction in devotional service? Because of our anarthas? Yes. Because of our anarthas. So, the only way to come out of it is engage more and more in devotional service. That's it. There's no other process by which it can come. Yuvraj Thakurji. Prabhuji, why my mind is being diverted all the time? Because you're not listening to the class and asking questions. See, okay, let me ask you this question. You're saying your mind is always being diverted all the time. Diverted from what? From what you want to do? Then, if what you want to do is not Krishna consciousness, then your very focus on your whatever you wanting to do, that itself is a diversion. Your focus is your diversion. Because you're diverted from the real aim of life, which is Natevidu Swarthagatam Vishnu. Vishnu or Krishna is our real aim, and there should be our focus. And anything other than that, that is a diversion. Distraction. So you're asking, why is my mind being diverted all the time? Diverted from what? If it's anything other than Krishna, it's all diversion. You may call it, no, that is focus. But actually there's diversion. Focusing on the wrong thing is a diversion. But if you're asking, why is my mind being diverted from Krishna consciousness? Then yes, because, I'm not as serious yet. That's why I'm being diverted. But yeah, but I can't be serious in one day. Yeah, that's understandable. So just keep the program going and associate with devotees more and more. Read Prabhupada's books. Eat only Krishna Prasadam. Chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds minimum every day. Then you'll definitely be alright. You will not be distracted. Yuvraj Thakur, again same. When Krishna will help me? When will you take Krishna's help? That is a proper question. Krishna is always helping. Suhridam sarvabhutanam. Krishna is always helping everyone. Why did he speak the Bhagavad-gītā? He had no interest in speaking to Arjuna, honestly speaking. Because Arjuna knew everything. He's Krishna's personal friend. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Andhakar, Yahan Krishna Tahan, Nahi Maya Radhikar. How can Maya affect Arjuna when Krishna, the sun like Krishna is there? How can there be darkness of Maya? It cannot be. So this Bhagavad Gita was spoken for our benefit. So he is helping us, instructing us, and not only by Bhagavad Gita, by whatever we are thinking, that is the suffering from which we want Krishna's help to come out of. That suffering is also Krishna's help. Whatever he is doing to you, due to which you are feeling some kind of distress and you are seeking some help, that suffering is Krishna's help. He is doing that for a reason. He is diminishing your past karma and giving you a sense of disgust towards this material world, and that is good. But if I don't take that lesson, that is my stupidity. Like there is this saying, we pray to God to change our situation, not understanding that God put us in the situation to change us. We want to remain the same rascal, but we want the situation to be changed. Krishna is not interested in that. Krishna is interested in changing us from being rascals to being his obedient devotees. So he put a situation in which it will be uncomfortable for us to remain rascals. But we pray to God, we go to God and Krishna, please help me remain a rascal. Please change the situation so that I can be a rascal permanently, everlastingly, eternally. This is our prayer. Look at our foolishness. What we are praying for is exactly what Krishna wants us to come out of. So we should understand that with every situation that Krishna throws at us, with every situation that life throws at us, which is arranged by Krishna, karmana daivanetrena, is for our good. Whether the father pats the son on the back and says, well done son, shabhash beta, or whether he says, hey rascal, one tight slap. Both ways, the father is always wishing well for the child. Because at both times, he is helping the child grow properly. If he's done good, okay, encouraging him. If he's done something nonsense, slap him or chastise him, depending on the severity. And both are good. So Krishna, if we are facing some kind of a punishment, let it be so. This is Krishna's will. Let me learn lessons from this. So that's why there is this beautiful verse by Kulashekar. He says, नास्था धर्मे नवसो निचये नैव कामोपभोगे यद्भाव्यं तद्भवतु भगवन् पूर्वकर्मानुरूपम् एतत् प्रार्थ्यं मम बहुमतं जन्म जन्मान्तरेऽपि त्वत्पादाम्भोरुहयुगगता निश्चला भक्तिरस्तु. You see here, yad bhavyam tad bhavatu bhagavan purva karmanurupam. Whatever has to happen according to my purva karmanurupam, let it happen. I am not asking you to relieve me from that. Let it happen. You know what to give me, what not to give me, how to punish me, how to encourage me. You know. You are best. Nobody need to tell you how to do it. Okay? I don't need to advise you. Oh, please do this for me, Krishna. I actually want this. Krishna knows. No. You are an idiot. You don't need this. You need this. You need a punishment. You need a slap on your face. So let me give you some slaps. Let me put some Rahu and then give you some slaps. And after that, put some Shani after that, give you more slaps and kicks. Then you will be alright. Then I will give you some other dāsa. So if we have to come out of these Navagraha influences, instead of doing some Navagraha puja, if we should chant Hare Krishna, then we will be controlled by not this planet, that planet, we will be controlled by Goloka planet. Goloka planet will control us. That will be our dasha. So wherever, whichever dasha comes, whatever, we are controlled by Goloka planet. Because, what is that? Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. He's always, meditating on Krishna. So he is controlled by Golok Vrindavan. Goloker prema dhana harinam sankirtana rathina janmilokya ne tai. Narottam Das Thakur is singing in the song. Goloker prema dhana harinam sankirtan. This harinam sankirtan, this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is imported from Goloka. And if I chant this, I will be connected to Golok Vrindavan. I will be controlled by Golok. That will be my astrology. That's it. So let's see the translation. Oh my Lord, I have no attachment for religiosity, that means dharma, artha, kama, or for accumulating wealth. Religiosity is dharma, accumulating wealth is artha, and for enjoying sense gratification, kama. Let these come as they inevitably must, in accordance with my past deeds. I am not protesting anything. But I do pray for this most cherished boon, birth after birth. So even if you want to keep me here in the material world and not give me moksha, I am not even asking moksha. Whatever you wish. If I am destined to stay here birth after birth, so be it. You know what to do with me. You are the best judge. But one thing I ask. Let me render unflinching devotional service unto your two lotus feet. That's the only thing I ask. That should be our thing. And if we are doing anything, or if we are asking anything other than this, and we are asking Krishna for help, Krishna will never help. Let me take it from me. Krishna is not going to help you to do something that is detrimental for you, yourself, and forget him. No, he will not help you. He wants to make you surrender to him. So sometimes he will encourage if you are doing well. Sometimes he will give you more tests. Sometimes he will punish you if you are doing wrong. How much you have surrendered, he will not test sometimes. So, when will Krishna help me is a foolish question. When will I take Krishna's help? That is a proper question. Krishna is always extending his hand. We are not interested in holding that. That is our problem. Okay, Harsh Patel. Have you experienced all that what you are telling, Swamiji? Brahman, Parabrahman? Yeah. I mean, what do you mean? Of course. Brahman, Parabrahman. What is experience? What is the experience? Okay. If you are Parabrahman, then you should be able to control the sun, you should be able to control the moon and everything, all the planetary system. You have zero control over your bowels. Okay? Forget about planets. You have no control over the urinary tract and on the bowels. Urine and stool you cannot control. Okay? So what Parabrahman am I? So I am Brahman. That is the experience. Parabrahman is Krishna. Who created everything? You created. Your grandfather created. Huh? Who created? Somebody must have created, no? That is Parabrahman. So you see everything, how this vast. Who created? Parabrahman. Small creations like some apple, iPad, a laptop, some aeroplane. This one we created. Brahman created, and that too taking the ingredients, including the intelligence to create, and the metal and the whatever plastic, everything from Parabrahman. Take the ingredients, manipulate a little bit, and created something. Whereas Parabrahman is creating the big, huge, planets, and even at the atomic level, at the cosmic level, at the physical level, at all levels, he has created everything. We are just taking ingredients from his creation and twisting and turning it this way, and then we are saying, I created this. That is Brahman and Parabrahman description, difference. What more you want to understand? This is experience. Is it not, are you not experiencing? Are you not experiencing the presence of the sun every day in the morning? Where did it come from? So, it's simple for the simple minded. Please do regularly lecture so that I can get some inspiration, because my determination is not strong. I'm not pious one. How are you so sure that Lord Krishna exists? How are you so sure that he does not exist? So, again, the same thing. How are you so sure that your father is your father? How? Did you do DNA test? I don't think so. How are you so sure? You believed your mother. So you have to believe the Vedas. Vedas are word of God. When they are saying you have to believe. All the great acharyas, they are also accepting. Krishna is saying I am a supreme. Shiva is saying Krishna is supreme. Brahma is saying Krishna is supreme. All the acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, even Shankaracharya himself also said Narayana Paravyaktāt. Krishna is supreme, Narayana is supreme. Everybody, all the great realized souls, great philosophers, sages, they are all accepting. The Vedas are saying, Krishna is saying, there is no contradiction. The only contradiction is you, who are saying maybe Krishna is God, maybe Krishna is not God. No, that is you. So where is the contradiction? So my question is, why are you so sure of your mind that you are, Krishna is not God? On whose authority you are talking, and whose authority I am talking? My authority is perfect. Krishna means all attractive. God means he has to be all attractive. How you know Krishna is God? No, whatever is all attractive, whoever is the God, his name has to be Krishna. Because what is that? Bhagavan means what? He is possessor of all bhagas, all opulences. What are the opulences? 6 broad categories. What is that? Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasya shriyah jnana vairagyyoschaiva shannam bhaga itingana. So there is riches, there is strength, there is fame, there is beauty, there is knowledge, and there is renunciation. If a person, and if in this world, if anyone has any of these 6 opulences, even in a minute quantity, he or she becomes attractive. If somebody has a little bit knowledge, oh, he becomes attractive. Somebody has a little bit beauty, attractive. Somebody has a little bit wealth, oh, becomes attractive. So, if anybody has a little bit of this, he or she becomes attractive. So, Bhagavan means he has all these 6 in infinite quantity. That means he is all attractive, irresistibly attractive. And Krishna means all attractive. So, therefore, God's name has to be Krishna. So, Krishna has to be God. Krishna was that person who exhibited all those 6 opulences when he was here. Every one of them. And it is not that he existed only for 125 years and is gone. No, he's always existing in the Golok Vrindavan and everywhere. But he manifested himself before us 125 years, 5,000 years ago for 125 years, and then after that, he chose to wind down his pastimes here, but his eternal pastimes are going on always. It's not that Krishna was only 5,000 years back, only he came, before that there was no Krishna. Krishna comes every single day of Brahma once. And in this particular day of Brahma, he came 5,000 years ago, in our time. That's all. You read first of all Bhagavad-gītā and the Science of Self-Realization. You read these books, Prabhupada's books. You will be convinced that Krishna is there. Krishna exists. The very fact that you exist, you only exist because your father exists, right? It is like saying, how sure your father existed? Then how did you come? It is like that. How are you sure Krishna exists? How you are existing then, if he is not there? Krishna says, Sarva yonishu kaunteya aham bija pradah pita. I am the father of all species of life. So if the father does not exist, how can the children exist? Since you exist, therefore Krishna exists. Just like because you exist, your father exists. Otherwise, where did you come from? So similarly, because you exist, Krishna exists. Otherwise, where did you come from? Have you experienced him? So even if I say yes or no, how does it matter? Have you tasted a mango? Yes. But how does that help you? You will still not understand the taste of a mango if I tasted it. You have to take the mango and taste it yourself. So, yes, we experience him every day. When you chant Hare Krishna, you experience him. When you see the deity, you experience him. When you think of all his teachings, you experience him. And the time will come when there will be no single moment where you don't experience him. It is that path we are on. A pure devotee of the highest standard, every moment, Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Not just experience to see him and have conversations, have pastimes with him. It's not just experience. Experience means what? How can I experience you? Do I experience you, or do I talk with you and play, or go out on an adventure, do something with you? So it's do something. So experience is not Krishna is not some passive energy that you experience. He's a person. You can play with him, you can dance with him, you can do anything with him. That's experience. So we are all on that path where we qualify. Don't look for experience straight away. I want to experience the Prime Minister. What do you mean experience the Prime Minister? You want to see him, you want to talk to him, you want to have some dealings with him. Fine. Qualify yourself. Become a diplomat, or become somebody who's worthy of meeting a Prime Minister. Do something, brave and get a medal of honor from the Prime Minister. Maybe. Do something. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, great Acharya, he said, don't try to see God. Act in such a way that God wants to see you. I have to attract the attention of God by my actions. If I do service to his devotee, and what is the best way to get his attention? You serve his devotee, the Acharya, the Guru, proper Guru. Don't go to some, fake guy, Baba, some idiot Baba. Don't go to that. Come to the proper Guru, Prabhupada, and serve his instruction. First, at least listen from him. Listen, read Prabhupada's books. Then Krishna will be very pleased with you. Then you will start your journey. So we want the result without following the process. How can I have a dish without following the recipe? I go into the kitchen and the dish should just appear on the stove like that. Or not? Oh, no. Why should I even go to the kitchen? The dish should just drop on my plate. That's essentially what the Grab food, Uber Eats, and all this just delivery, home delivery, food delivery apps and all this. That's what they're trying to do. I want a pizza. Press a button. I have a pizza. That's the way to do it. But I still have to follow a recipe. I still have to pay it. Either I have to follow, either I have to do the recipe and have the food, or I order it from somewhere and I pay for somebody else to do the recipe for me. So unfortunately, in the spiritual life, there is no paying. You have to follow the recipe. But the recipe will be given by the Acharya. Everyone has to work for his own. It's an outsourcing business. Okay. So I have to follow the recipe first. Follow the recipe, then you will see Krishna, you will experience, you will have all kind of dealings with Krishna. But follow the process. Mahamantra is not different from him. There is Achintya Vedavad. I have a question. Some old Indian so-called religious TV serials showed that Indra and all those demigods going to Vaikuntha Loka as a spiritual planet without any hesitation. But actually demigods can go to spiritual world like this? No, they can't. Even when they want to talk to Vishnu, they can't talk directly. They have to tell Brahma, and Brahma has to go to the milk ocean, shore of the milk ocean, and offer prayers, Purusha Sukta prayers and all this. And then Vishnu only appears to Lord Brahma and tells him, and Brahma hears everything, and Brahma then relays the message to the other demigods. Can't even directly say this. Ela Tiwari. Sir, you are explaining it so well. Well, this is Prabhupada's books. I am just repeating what is there in the books of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is the one who explained everything to us, and the senior devotees who pointed us to all the important sections of the books so that we can just take that knowledge and then present it to you. Prabhupada is giving our visa. He is recommending, yes. So that's the easiest way to go to him. I had that question, how get birth in the middle planet from lower planets? I order vegetarian food, they will say. Yeah, as long as it's not prasadam, it is sinful. Yajnashishtāshinā santo mucchante sarvakilvishai bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachanti atmakaranath. Chapter 3, text 13 of Bhagavad-gītā. Even if vegetarian or non-vegetarian, if it is not offered to Krishna, it is sin. Only when it is offered to Krishna, the prasadam, that is sinless. Meat, at least, meat of course we cannot offer to Krishna. The vegetarian also, if it is not offered, it's not prasadam, so it's sinful. Tragedy of material life right here. Yeah. These things need to be taught in schools. I know where you wrote this. This was when I was showing how the family man, going to hell and all these things for his so-called family life. Ignorant modern society don't know anything of this. Still, they are so-called advanced society, all rascals. Yes, and when we say all rascals, we should not hate them. We should. It is out of concern. So, if they are rascals, that means I am not doing my job. As devotees, we are not preaching enough. Just by saying they're rascals, all rascals. I am the greatest saint here. Yeah. No, I'd help them. They're rascals. Yes, I was rascal until certain, at least to some up to some recent past, and now okay, still rascal, but less of a rascal than before. So let me help other rascals to become non-rascals. That should be the mission. If there are rascals left in the world, then it is our you know lack of service. Preaching is not going on adequately. That's why there are abundance of rascals. Sami, why from this human life we don't continue automatically to next human body but go back to start? Do those who don't make any mistake continue until body of Brahma? Okay. First I will show you this verse. ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्थाः मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसाः जघन्यगुणवृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So this is how you can become a human if in the next life. Provided if you are in the mode of passion. But many people nowadays are in the mode of ignorance because of the association and the work they do. That's why they go down. Otherwise, yeah, you can take birth as a human also. Many things have to be factored in why we go here and there. See, even though we are given an explanation on how the soul moves when we go into the heavenly planets and how the soul moves when we go to hellish planets, it is still not the full detail. If Krishna really tries to explain the full detail, our mind will explode, our brain will explode. I mean, we cannot even understand how intricate, how he's just giving the broad governing principles, but it's not the real intricate detail of everything. General principles are being described only. There's much more nuance and intricacy to all of this. Like, for example, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they were demigods. They did not fall as grains and were eaten by man. They just fell as trees. Direct. It's a direct resistance by the curse of Narada. That's one example. There can be many, many. I mean, there are so many things that can happen in different ways. And Brahma. Okay. Where is that? Just a second here, huh? Where is that where it is said that? So basically, there is a verse in Bhagavatam which explains that if one follows the varnashram system for 100 lifetimes perfectly without a single fault, he can become Brahma. Now, just try to understand that. I don't know where that. I forgot. It's somewhere in the third or fourth kind of somewhere around there. So anyway, the point is, if one can follow the varnashram system, suppose I am a Vaishya, and if I do my Vaishya duty perfectly without a single fault in the entire life, and next maybe I become a Shudra, maybe first a Shudra and then the Vaishya, whatever. So as a Shudra, if I do all my duties correctly without a single fault, how to? I mean, whole life without a single fault, and do that for 100 lifetimes, then I can become Brahma. To become Brahma is so difficult, and we want to go to Krishna just like that. Just, you know, just try to understand how difficult actually it is. I mean, how not difficult, how serious we have to be. So that's the thing. Dimitri bro is asking, why does one have to go through all species of life? If in Bhagavad-gītā 8.6 it is said that we attain a state of being, we remember quitting our body. For example, one remembers his pet dog, he becomes a dog in the next life, bypassing all the previous species. Sometimes it happens that way, and even if he has to go as a dog, he becomes a dog, yes, but then he goes down to the hellish planets and has to go through again. Either after his hellish planets or before his hellish planets, he has to take birth as a dog. So sometimes it is, yeah, depending on how low he has to fall that way. But honestly, at the time of death, we give the example of a dog, but honestly, how many people actually think of a dog at the time of death? Maybe there are some. Sometimes it is just what they deserve. It's not that the souls in the dog's body is in the last life they thought of a dog. Not every time. Sometimes it's just the next higher species, next higher species, next higher species. But if you see that verse 3:30-34, from the lowest forms of life, it is said like that. Lowest form means, I mean, from the fish. But yeah, I understand. Sometimes it may be somewhere else. So that's why it is just general principles, and sometimes there can be nuances, there can be more intricate details like sudden jumps. For example, if a flower is offered to Krishna, that plant which produces the flower, either maybe devotee went to pick the flower up from some plant, or he bought some flowers from a shop, and that shop got the flowers from some farm in India, and then the farm in that India there are so many plants in the same farm, and then this particular plant's flower came to Krishna. Somewhere the connection somehow happened. Now that soul in the tree's body, that plant, next life he will jump many these things, rungs in the evolution ladder, and he'll go much higher. He will get a human body or something close to it, something like that. So a lot of karma is purged if somehow or other one comes to Krishna consciousness, whether knowingly or unknowingly. This is called ajñāta sukriti. Ajñāta sukriti means piety, but ajñāta, without knowing. without conscious effort, without understanding what he's doing. So like that. Sami, yes. So do some souls sometimes skip through, for example, like to the animal species without going through aquatics and plant life? Maybe, maybe. As I already said. Can we go to Golok only by chanting the name of God at the time of death? Yeah. And to do that, you have to chant the whole life. Otherwise, you can't remember at the time of death. Saurav Sahu. Like somewhere I read prostitutes must get some ghostly body, after that a particular type of hell is fixed. I don't know about ghostly bodies, but there is suffering mentioned in the śrī-bhagavān. They are forced to embrace the form of a man who is, made of molten gold, not gold, molten iron. The burning hot, and she has to embrace all this illicit sex life. There are so many punishments mentioned. Oh, this one first. Thank you very much for explaining how much dangerous is karma's and journey of soul, and reminding real position of our soul and how long we have to go to improve our consciousness. Ruji, this is seriously funny, just like a boy going up and down and creating nonsense. Yeah, we all are doing like this. Yeah. Prabhuji, I would like to express that your lectures include very detailed knowledge and easily understandable everyday examples, along with the touch of humor and mercy slaps at the same time. I agree, such examples and analogies make complex things simple to understand. Well, actually, honestly, I'm just slapping myself. It is, honestly, classes are for myself. It's a side effect that it helps you all. That's it. So, thank you for being patient and listening to it this long. Um, Sami, here there is amazing stars visible still and whole. Wait. Here there is amazing stars visible still and whole winter's aurora borealis time. That's magical, but never understood why those happen. Aurora borealis is like those, those. What are they called? Northern lights. Oh, wow, you're actually looking at those northern lights. Okay, that's beautiful. Krishna, his artistry is just. How can we, how can we say there is no God? He says, who's the other person asked, how can you say God exists? Krishna exists. How can you say there is no God? When you see a painting, you just think some. Do you think that some paint just splashed on the canvas and then something beautiful came out? Of course, now the modern art is like that. That's why I don't call it art. I call it a fart. That's just some mental problems of these people. So real art. I'm talking about real art. If there's something beautiful, then of course you will ask who's the artist. And there is so much art here. How foolish are we to say, is there really an artist? What are you talking about? That paint just splashed there. How can you say there's an artist? That's a stupid argument. You know? Modern science totally refutes God. They say from some chemical life came 3 billion years ago. Yeah, they were there actually and took note of that. They actually observed that 3 billion years ago there was some chemical. So 3 billion years ago, the chemicals were so advanced that they could produce life. What happened to chemicals today? They are not producing life. Where is the advancement? Today you can mix all kinds of chemicals, nothing is going to happen. Hmm? What happened? So 3 billion years ago, chemicals produced life. Now why they are not producing? That means it has devolved, right? A stupid explanation. By now, there is no scientific evidence of creating life from chemicals. Even scientists say that. So they are just bluffing and juggling words. That's the truth. What are so-called stars? Modern astronomers are saying they are other suns, but according to Bhagavatam, our universe is only one sun. Then what are those luminary bodies? They are reflections, just like the moon. Nakshatranam aham shashi. What is that verse? Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of the lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. Nakshatranam aham shashi. Of the stars, I am the moon. Now, among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars. Therefore, the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, and as by the reflection of the sun the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad-gītā indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns but are similar to the moon. Look at how much faith Prabhupada has in the words of Bhagavad-gītā. Instead of saying something that matches the Western understanding, he just completely denying and defying the whole Western nonsense. He just saying moon is a star. That means stars are like the moon who are reflecting the light of the sun rather than the other way around. And actually on moon there is a second kind of fire with ice, something like this. It is explained in the Bhagavatam also. So there might be that also. So there are this kind of explanations are there. Carl Sagan says we will be able to make life from chemicals in future. That's their escape route from any accountability. Because they have to account for anything they say, right? I mean, if I am saying something, I have to prove it. So when they cannot prove it, the escape way is in the future. At that time, I will not be there, no? You can't catch me. That's why we have to catch them now and then beat them. I mean, with arguments. And the future being repeated time by time, in different cultures. Okay, I may say I will become a millionaire in the future, but just trust me. But if you ask me to give you some money, I won't be able, because my real position is that I'm poor. It's just cheating. Can we chant in mind? Why you can't chant with the lips? Prabhupada said chanting means the lips must move, the sound must come. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You have to chant and the sound must come out. Then you must hear it. In the mind, mind is going somewhere. Where is the hearing? Our ears should be used in Krishna's service. Our tongue should be used in Krishna's service. Our mind must be used in Krishna's service. Our hand must be used in Krishna's service. This is chanting. Can a non-devotee go to Golok if he only chants at the time of death? No. He cannot chant at the time of death. Actually there is. Yes. Actually they can go. I'll show you an example. From the Narasimha Puran. Damshtrahatomlecho harameti punah punah uktva vimuktim apnoti kim punah shraddhaya grinan. Even a mlecha who is being killed by the tusk of a boar and who cries in distress again and again, Haram, Haram, attains liberation. What then to speak of those who chant the holy name with veneration and faith? What is he saying? Haram, Haram, who will say Haram? Muslim man. When he sees a pig is haram for a Muslim man. And this is quoted in Narasimha Puran. You see, since this is a quotation from Narasimha Puran, this indicates that in the Puranic age there must also have been Mlechas and Yavanas. That means these Muslims were there even in previous Kali Yuga. Every Kali Yuga they all come. So at that time, so Narasimha Puran, there's record of this, and then this Muslim man, the wild boar was attacking him, and because it was a pig, he was shouting haram, haram, haram. But because he was saying haram, what happened to him? Attained liberation. Non-devotee, haram, 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 went back over to Godhead. What then to speak of those who chant with the holy name with veneration and faith? So, yeah, the answer is yes. If they somehow or other chant. Okay, who is this? Sami is saying no hard and fast rules. No, there is some rules. No hard and fast rules means there is no hard and fast rules on where you can chant and when you can chant. But how to chant, there are rules. You have to chant it audibly. It has to be audible. And you have to, as you said, yeah, and to hear. It's not in a mechanical process. This bhakti, someone inattentively chanting 16 rounds like robot, what is the use of such chanting? That person will go to hell. No, that's not correct. He will not go to hell. But he doesn't make much advancement. It is better than not chanting at all, but you know, not involved in the chanting, it will not take him very high. You know, he will not go to hell for that, but it's an offense definitely. But that will keep him from becoming more pure. He will just chant, but but that's why he has to become attentive more and more. In the beginning, all these things will happen. That doesn't mean he'll go to hell. That's the stage, but here we have to rise from that. Kiran, my father is inimical towards Prabhupada, and we had an argument because he was insulting him. What should I do? Just yeah, you have to fight. I mean, you have to argue back, and in the future, don't like really try to avoid all the confrontation. That's the best way. I know confrontations do happen, and we have to stand for it. We have to fight for it. We can't just sit down and listen to the nonsense. And sometimes we can say in a nicer way, and then it depends. I mean, you have to figure that out. Yeah. How 45 minutes opposition means Krishna Kaurava was not attacking them. They're not listening Bhagavad-gītā. No, it was just before the war started. They were on the battlefield, and Arjuna said, "Show me the two armies." Fighting did not start. So they were all waiting. Krishna was talking, and some of them did not listen. Some of them listened. I mean, how Krishna took so much time in battlefield to spoke. Yeah, 45 minutes he took. So what? They were all getting ready, making the formations, and then Arjuna, there was this thing. You see? Yeah, it's within 1 hour. Piyush, Prabhuji is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, incarnation of Krishna or mixture of both Krishna and Radharani. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. So he is Krishna but with the mood of Radharani. To understand Radharani. But he is Krishna. But in the mood of Radharani. So it is, what is that? If you see this, you can say this is Radha and Krishna combined also. Here, if you see this verse, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shaktirasma Ekatmana Bhuvi Pura Deha Bhedam Gato Chaitanyakhyam Prakatamadhuna Tadvayam Chaikyamaptam Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So yes, they combine together. But this is how they combine. Is Krishna himself with the mood of Radharani to understand the love of Radharani. Can you explain me with any proof so that I can firmly believe? Yeah. I mean, even next verse. Why Krishna did that? Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Swadyo Yenad Bhutamadhurima Kidrisho Vamadiyah Saukhyam Jasyamadhanubhavatah Kidrisham Veti Lobhat Tattvavit Samajanishachi Garbhasindhau Harindu. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachidevi as the moon appeared from the ocean. So this is the internal reason of Krishna to come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to taste the love of Radharani, what she feels when she loves Krishna. The other reason is this. Anarpita charim chirat karunaya vatirna kalo samarpayitumunnato jvalarasam svabhakti shriyam harihi purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipitaha sada hridaya kandare spuratu vahasachi nandana. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So, basically he came to give this Harinam, this Sankirtan movement, Krishnavarnam Dusha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Prayar Yajantehi Sumedasa Bhagavatam. So he came to spread the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and give this love of Godhead freely through that chanting process to benefit everyone. So that is the external reason. The internal reason is to taste the love of Radharani. So this is the reason. Okay, so Prabhuji, what does Lord Vishnu within our heart, within our body is doing? Only witnessing our action and helping us to go near him. Being within us, he is performing his own activities like being with Lakshmi Devi. It is said that the Paramatma, he is just witnessing our actions and sanctioning. But for a devotee, when he is purified, then he will see all the pastimes of the Lord within his heart, like a television. So the Lord, when the Lord exists, he exists with all of his paraphernalia, but see, he can witness while doing everything. So, but it is said that he stands on this lotus. The whole explanation of the Paramatma is there in the second canto, second chapter. of the Bhagavatam. So you can see there what he does. And of course, that is what we can understand. What else he does, we do not know. And of course, he's feeling the pain that we are, in the body of a pig and and a dog and a cat and some idiotic insects and poisonous plants, and so it pains him. So that is there. So he's not like a robot or some, like a doll sitting there. He's having feelings. He's just waiting. He's very patient. I mean, he's waiting. How to understand this being as Paramatma within us? He's enjoying his pastimes because whatever we might do, whatever we do might be boring, and he's just tolerating us, witnessing our deeds in comparison to Vaikuntha. See, we have a very limited understanding, so we better not try to understand what the Lord is thinking. But whatever the Lord is thinking, He reveals a little bit of that in here and there, the scriptures. So, one thing is the Lord is very sad, that we have that verse. What is that? Ihe haiva. Always I forget this verse. I don't know how many times I have to remember. See? I try to remember, that's why you see, it's at the same, it's at the exact correct spot. Because I tried to memorize this verse the other time. I thought this app was finished, but again it resurrected. So again, अस्मिन् निहेहैव भवे भावी मदुन्मुखा इत्याशया तव अत्यन्तं नर्तितोऽस्मि सदाज्ञवत्. For so long hope had me dancing like a fool, thinking perhaps in this lifetime or this or this or this he will finally turn his face towards me. When there is love, there is so much anxiety. So Krishna is very anxious actually. It's not just boring. Okay, Paramatma is like, okay, he's eating grass, buffalo. Okay, just sit down there. Okay, now he's sleeping. Okay, next day morning, oh, now he woke up. Okay. Oh, he had sex. Okay. That's he's anxious. I mean, look at this idiot. He became a buffalo. He's feeling for us. I mean, he has so much feeling. I mean, we can't understand. We think it's, boring and all that. But honestly, see, the problem is we think of the Lord as we ourselves would think. That's why this problem comes. How the Lord is paying attention, minute attention to every single thought, every single word, every single action that every single living entity is doing. So to be that attentive and to remember everything that they have ever done. That attentiveness. I mean, how can we understand the Lord? So we cannot try to understand Him like you know, like what we would think. He's anxious. I mean, he's so anxious, and his anxiety is all the way. That's why he's so anxious that he wants to follow us every single life, whatever stupid thing we are doing. Lakhu Trivedi. Prabhuji, I got failed in my German paper. I don't want to study German subject, but still school is teaching me. I have interest in science and maths. What should I do? Throw German, science, maths and everything. Study Bhagavad-gītā and Bhagavatam. Don't come to me with this nonsense questions. Here, this class is not how to, make you, some German. If you learn all this, you'll become a German shepherd, by the way. One day. After all this, you'll become a German shepherd. That is what this education will take you to. You'll become a dog. Because you'll become employed. Prabhupada said, Shudra going to the application job by job, with the tail wagging, please give me job, I will be a good dog for you. What is the use of German paper or science? You'll become a German shepherd. Become a dog for Krishna. We want to become a German shepherd for Krishna. That is perfection. If you otherwise become German shepherd for the material He himself is a dog, and we want to become a dog of a dog. So, dog squared. This Lakhutri asking stupid advice. Please give me advice for standard 10 how we can manage bhakti and studying hand to hand. I don't care about how you manage your studying, but please don't forget the bhakti. I don't care really. Uh, See, hand to hand, I don't know. See, you have to understand, it's all ultimately useless. You're not learning anything about your life. Um, yeah, if you learn to read and write, and you know how to count, so that you won't be cheated when you collect donations and then you don't know how much you collected. And when you're buying something for Krishna and then you gave $10, it's a $5 thing, and he gave back $3, and you came back home with paying $7. That you have to know how to count, you have to know how to read, and after that, it's, I mean, come on, what is the use? So I don't really place much effort. I mean, much emphasis on how much what you will get in your grades. But the main thing is, the real exam is the death. Pass that exam. I'm more concerned about that. My parents won't allow me. Okay, fine. You study whatever you're doing, do, but don't forget Krishna. How to do? Krishna will give you intelligence. I mean, you chant, you read Prabhupada's books, and you go and study. Lakutrivit, I am obsessed with truth. I want truth of life. Okay, read Bhagavad-gītā. This way. Okay. I tried so many times, but still I am failed to get good grades in my exams. Yeah, we also tried many times in our many lives. We failed many times. We got hopeless grades, so we are still in the material world. Pass the exam of death. I mean, this is a passing phase. I mean, okay, if you are not getting good grades, you just try your best there. Don't place so much emphasis there. I mean, the real emphasis should be here. Okay. And why are you asking these questions? I got 13 to 17 marks in most of subjects out of 20. See, you listen to the class. You're not listening. That's your problem. You're saying you want the truth and all that. You're not listening to the truth. You're talking about some, fake stuff. It's not even real education. Real education means, I mean, come on. What are you doing? Not listening. This is the problem. Sitting in the class and doing some nonsense rubbish. See, having big conversations. Can we quiet illicit sex easily? Okay, I understand. Can we quit illicit sex easily? Yeah, chant Hare Krishna, you can come out. And patience is the last word in our age. Okay. Do Krishna chooses his devotees by himself? No, he wants everybody to become devotee. We choose not to become. It's our choice. Does Krishna choose? So Krishna chooses somebody to become a non-devotee? No, no. A father will never choose it. So one of his sons. Okay, you know what? You become a good son, you become an idiot. You go to jail. What does the father choose? No, the son of his own actions chooses his destiny. So our father wants everybody to be a good child. But some idiots will be there who will become a bad child. So similarly, Krishna doesn't choose his devotees or non-devotees. He wants everybody to become devotees. That's why he speaks to everybody. But some choose to listen to him, and other idiots, they don't choose to listen to him. That's why they remain in this material world. So we should not be that idiot, that rascal, and we should be here. 4:24:29. Thank you, Prabhu. 4:24:29. Oh. 4:24:29. Swadharmanishta. Oh, स्वधर्मनिष्ठः शतजन्मभिः पुमान् विरिञ्चतामेति ततः परं हि माम् अव्याकृतं भागवतोऽथ वैष्णवं पदं यथाहं विबुधाः कलात्यये. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. A person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu is in unalloyed devotional service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planets. Lord Shiva and other demigods attain these planets after the destruction of this material world. Lakhu again with a question. People say we don't trust God because we never seen them, and says we don't trust things which we never seen, but they still write their history paper. Kind of funny. Yeah, they never saw it. They never saw anything. The signs. Man landed on the moon. Did they see? They did not. We hardly see anything. I can't answer every question of this Lakhu Trivedi because asking just you're just typing questions. You're not listening to the class at all. You're just typing and typing and typing. I'm not going to answer. You're not asking related questions. You're asking some nonsense questions. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for your time and patience. We'll meet again. Hopefully I can return to all the schedule of Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and all of that. Let's see. Hare Krishna. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण.